help special operators cope with sleep deprivation, keep up morale, ward off passivity, and suppress empathy, JSOC doctors did what American medics have been doing since the Vietnam War and distributed amphetamines, specifically dextroamphetamine, known by the brand names Dexedrine or Adderall. Then guys couldn't sleep, said the retired sergeant major, so they were getting Ambien. Some were mixing it with booze. McChrystal alludes to his top officer's dependence on sleeping pills in his memoir. My command team, he wrote, kept Ambien close at hand. McRaven also writes of his reliance on Ambien, the mind-clouding effects of which he sometimes found difficult to shake off at key moments. As Billy Levine would eventually find out, such habits, once formed, are hard to break. The retired sergeant major, now in his 50s, still takes prescription amphetamines. I'm on Dex right now, he said. 10 milligrams for my ADHD. Hello, welcome to Technopoverty. I'm Henry, flying solo once again. Lux and Jacob are MIA. These Tuesdays have turned into an interesting offshoot of our main program, where typically we talk about books, play video games, and chat with y'all here in the chat to see what the intertext generates for us. Bounce it off current events. We give Barney some pets and love and emotes in the chat, and right now we're working through Metal Gear 2 as part of our Toy Soldiers of Summer. I have some YouTube essays we're going to also be watching today as part of this whole thing, just because there's some stuff I've been interested in watching, and typically, well, you know the drill. It's Tuesday. Yes, that's correct, Tuesday 3-2. Tuesdays have turned into Wednesdays, although Thursdays might turn into Threes days. We'll see. A Monday might become a Threes day as well. But I'm going to crank this back up. And I was really loving Metal Gear 2. Been away from it for too long. I am considering turning Wednesdays into a Wednesday situation as well if things start pacing out weird. Schedules are starting to shift, such is the nature of not having a regular 9-to-5 or friends with regular 9-to-5s. We're all volatile contractors, freelancers, part-timers, full-timers, all-timers, no-timers. Right, there's a more elaborate HUD here. So I believe I got card 2, card 1. I could have swore I got a card from Across the Swamp. Did that register? Also, I know I'm not playing the Anthony Grimigula yet. I'm just a bit confused. Because I remember fighting the Running Man, and then I could have swore the Running Man gave me like the level 3 card. And so did my save not register the Running Man's death? Very frustrating if so. Well, there's an easy way to figure this out, because if I have the right card, I can open the west gate that I need to in building 1. So I'm going to let this YouTube video rip while we figure that out. This is the newest by Anthony. It is about cyberpunk cops. I'm just going to let it rip.
You ever notice cyberpunk stories are about cops a lot? The origin point for cyberpunk is Neuromancer, William Gibson's novel. But it's undeniable that Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and its adaptation, Blade Runner, had a huge impact on the genre. Blade Runner is a sci-fi noir story about a cop whose job it is to put androids in the ground, more known as replicants, because they're crossing the border. And Deckard a cop, our hero, is the bad guy. Fast forward a few years, we get RoboCop. Another cyberpunk story, this time about a cop named Murphy, who is gunned down by drug dealers in a cyberpunk version of Detroit. His body is an asset of Omnicorp, who repurposes the corpse, his corpse, to create a cybernetic cop. One who, while being a valuable asset to keep the streets safe, is also functionally there to clear out the poorest parts of the city, to make way for a new construction project detailed in the background of shots. Omnicorp owns the cops and the drug trade, so it owns all angles of the war on crime. And cops are part of a system owned by a company, meant to punish people for money. And Murphy, our hero, is not a bad guy, but is used by them, puppeted by them, a tool of industry. It seems interesting then that cyberpunk is a subgenre of punk and will position many of its characters as enforcers of the law. I feel that writers will do that to instill a sense of cynicism about the systems of control. The replicants are essentially good people in an unjust world, created to occupy a niche. Their anatomies are outside their control. They're born into slavery, and the Blade Runners, cops, exist to ensure they can never escape slavery. In both RoboCop and Blade Runner, cops enforce the rules to benefit the upper class, while business owners can just break the rules. Can't have replicants on Earth? Well, Tyrell, the owner of Tyro Corp, has Rachel, a replicant, on Earth, posing as a human being. Hell, she doesn't even know she's a replicant. The cops fighting the drug dealers? Well, now a company owns the cops and the drug trade, meaning they're creating a conflict they could stop at any moment, but it's more profitable not to. And what makes it interesting is that both Murphy and Deckard are good people at heart, used in an unjust system. And so while we sympathize with both of them, we also recognize that they are being manipulated and controlled by systems of order. Deckard and Murphy don't deliberately enforce company interests. Deckard started as a Blade Runner to do a job, one that he clearly hates doing in the film. The book, different story, but in the film he clearly hates it, but he just does it because he's pressured into doing it. Murphy came to the Detroit Police Department, however, with a dream and an ambition. Be the hero who protects the innocent. He emulates cowboys and hero cops you saw on television. He's a Western gunslinger at the beginning of the movie. And Omnicorp takes this dream, hollows it out, takes out its soul, and turns it into a product. The whole movie RoboCop is about Murphy finding his soul again in the machine, doing the right thing despite company interests. Of course, this is nothing new. The police were created originally to benefit systems of order and control that manage society. The first police force, for example, was founded during the Dublin Police Act in 1786, which was founded to regulate the population under new colonial rule. It was deployed multiple times during multiple protests.
Guess I do have to refight them.
Crown to maintain order. The Crown's order, anyway. Later police organizations were founded to make sure people didn't leave work too often, or to ensure slaves did not escape their masters. And this is all true, by the way. In effect, they were designed to keep the populace in check. They were always designed to serve the rich. And that's not even getting to Pinkertons, by the way. Some stories center the cops and justice systems as a business, a corporation. Bounty hunting is a thing you can do in Cyberpunk 2077.
I mean, organized crime is a make-work program for law enforcement.
Justice becomes business. And the cops support this industry, the industries, to make sure that the elite keep things running. Sure, the story is written as a condemnation of cops and justice, no matter what route you play, be it a street samurai, a wandering outsider, or a corporate head. But no matter what you do, you can work with the police to maintain their form of order. The game mechanics reward you for doing so. Now, I gotta warn you, this video is about to get very heavy, so how about an ounce of levity before we dive into the network of high-tech and low living under the boot of industry and law enforcement? Like a word from today's sponsor, Bellessa. That's right, because there's nothing more cyberpunk than augmenting your day-to-day life with some specialty toys. I admit, I don't really know how to transition between these topics other than to show some very racy image panels from the Ghost in the Shell manga that YouTube will not allow me to do, but let's keep going from there, you know? Look, the world's a nightmare. There's a ton of stress out there. So there's nothing wrong with taking time to make yourself feel good. Or you and someone special to you And look, there are a lot of organizations that sponsor YouTubers out there, right? They are these faceless organizations. Well, Bellesa, it's a woman-owned company that values your personal privacy. That's right, they mail their products right to your door in discreet packaging. Now, it's Bellesa's official policy to replace any dog-destroyed toys with some puppy pictures. So if you have any animals that get inside your special secret spaces, you can always replace them with some beautiful photos of your puppy. Also, it's important to note that the LGBTQIA section of the website is extremely important. They have a great collection for all couples of all varieties. It's curated to any type of body type, any identity, every type of desire you may have within your heart. I guess in one sense, it is kind of cyberpunk in a sense to rebel against the standards of society. We're talking versatile toys for any situation. So we have strap-ons, harnesses, couple-friendly vibes, all the really, really good fun stuff for you guys. And everything in the section is designed to help you explore, connect, and feel empowered in your journey.
Amazing ad sponsor, honestly.
Satisfaction.
Would love to have Technopoverty sponsored by this kind of novelty.
Free toy. You sign up, you get something.
We currently have no kind of corporate backing. Just a reminder, we are a totally DIY project.
Many
Isn't that right, Barney?
About rebels, criminal
we do it for her, we do it for the love of the
about
game,
cyberpunk
we do it for the love
seen
of books.
Eyes of a different culture. What about cyberpunk not made by Americans, Canadians, or British people, but made by the Japanese? Well, for one, Neuromancer, the big book that inspired cyberpunk, wasn't translated into Japanese until much later. At least not after Japanese cyberpunk started forming as a culture.
Akira was cyberpunk before cyberpunk. When Otomo began serializing it in 1982 in the bi-weekly Young magazine, he would not come across William Gibson's seminal 1984 book Neuromancer until 1985, when it was translated into Japanese. Instead, Otomo cites the novels by Seishi Yokomizo and their preoccupation with new breeds of humans mutating to adapt to volatile conditions, personified in Japan's mistrusted rebel youth and rioting students of the 60s. Born in 1954, Otomo sought to evoke the volatile period he knew well in the future world of Akira. I wanted to revive a Japan like the one I grew up in after the Second World War, with a government in difficulty, a world being rebuilt, external political pressures,
male
an
Barney
uncertain
snaps.
future, and a gang
That
of
is
kids
correct.
left to fend for themselves, who cheat boredom by racing motorbikes. He also pays tribute to his childhood favorite manga by Mitsuteru Yokoyama, the giant robot classic Tetsujin 28 Go, from 1956 to 66, released as an animated cartoon in America as Gigantor, and to the lasting impressions on him of American films such as Easy Rider and Bonnie and Clyde.
Blade Runner, RoboCop, and Tron all had Japanese releases, sure, but the biggest influence aesthetically on Japanese cyberpunk were other works of Japanese sci-fi or the comic art of the French artist Moebius. Moebius, it should be stated, also had influence on Blade Runner's aesthetic, so both cyberpunk movements did draw from that same well. Now, a lot of Western sci-fi was influenced by the same works, as mentioned before, but the punk movement in the West is significantly different. The United States has had several controversies. I know, shocking, especially in the 70s and 60s, and if we're being honest, a lot of these controversies happened in communities that were overly policed, with increasingly absurd levels of violence committed against civilians. As a result, two things started to happen. Cops were treated as increasingly the adversaries, with corrupt cops appearing everywhere in cinema, from The Godfather to the Dirty Harry series. Yeah, even Dirty Harry, but that kind of romanticized dirty cops a little bit. There's a push and a pull in American cinema and storytelling about the cops being either good guys or bad guys with a badge. However, cinematically, all that's an offshoot from the noir cinema, where morally gray investigators were a dime a dozen. This trend, combined with modern cynicism regarding law enforcement, helped feed into films like Chinatown. In regards to the punk movement, though, it got a little more extreme. Punks were pretty much always anti-establishment, but all these events with the cops definitely helped motivate them more. And it didn't help that a lot of these punk groups contained a lot of LGBTQIA people who were especially used to being overly policed at nightclubs and bars, the most famous of which, of course, was the Stonewall Inn. Point is, American punks didn't care for cops all that much in the 70s. There were a lot of events leading to those sentiments that fed into their fiction of anti-establishment and anti-order. This cynicism can be felt in Blade Runner, but William Gibson he's not American, he's Canadian. So he's being informed by these anti-establishment ideas very much removed from it. And don't get me wrong, Blade Runner, Ridley Scott, he's not American either, he's British. You know? But with all these cultural trends, we're getting echoes of it as interpreted by other cultures. American punk and Canadian punk are very different. And yet William Gibson's Canadian sensibilities helped inform him. That, through the lens of the punk movement from America, fed into Neuromancer, which fed into our understanding of cyberpunk. And don't get me wrong, Gibson didn't even know about like freaking computers back then. He made all that crap up. That's important to note. In fact, I mentioned Ridley Scott being British. The other element is British cyberpunk. IPC started publishing 2000 AD, a British sci-fi comic, most famous for being the birthplace of Judge Dredd, which is a satire of American law enforcement and fascism through the eyes of British counterculture, which I would say was more drastic than American counterculture.
What up,
Dredd
Ja?
predates modern cyberpunk. But the aesthetics also draw from Mobius, again, and feed into the core.
Yeah, I'm
ideas
back
of
to the Tuesday
sci-fi
slot.
at
We've
that
been a little
time,
volatile
especially
at getting the
punk
two-person
stuff.
thing
Japanese
going, but I'm
cyberpunk is
taking
not
advantage of it as a
Judge
solo
Dredd. It's not
session
new.
since streaming's the
It's
only
something
time I game
entirely
now.
different and yet
And there's a
entirely
lot of games I want to play
Despite
and I'm falling
being
behind
separate,
on.
it almost had like a convergent evolution.
Stuff like
Spec
Expedition
Ops was
33 and Silk
and drawing from
Song.
different punk movement with different anti-establishment ideas, the core of cyberpunk remains. But how did
Metal
the
Gear
movies
Solid
function in that
5.
storyline? And how do we get such a similar cyberpunk movement? How did two movements have such similar endpoints, yet such different starting points? The first thing to remember is that Japan has a different relationship to technology and the authorities than America or England or Canada do. A lot of Japanese cyberpunk stories don't focus on the companies that run everything, but rather the impact of technology once it has slipped through our sense of control. The companies have no control. Western cyberpunk deals with these topics too, but many of the great works of Japanese cyberpunk focus on systems of order failing to put the lid on something that we created. Much like, say, the atomic bomb blowing up cities and areas, you know? A lot of that's due to the history of Japan, as I implied. After World War II, Japan saw massive increases to its infrastructure, industrial landscapes, technological development, all of that. The era between 1955 and 1973, often referred to as the Japanese economic miracle, when the country shifted from agricultural economy to an industrialized economy. And this technology, this leap forward, positioned Japan perfectly for its massive economic position moving forward. William Gibson even predicted that in the future of his novel Neuromancer, the Japanese economy would overtake America, dominating the planet, becoming a dominant superpower. But he wasn't right, was he? Not in the way we think anyway. But the fear of Japan drove American cyberpunk, but it didn't drive Japanese cyberpunk. Because, naturally, Japan being a dominant superpower in the world, they're gonna like that, you know? Corporations and work culture especially are a major thing in Japanese culture. Japanese cyberpunk rose into popularity during the crux of Japan's
Cool, you can pick up the mines if you crawl over them, which I think later games implemented as a regular feature as well.
Building. Something in society is boiling up. The pressure is mounting. And I feel artists understood that society that kept getting bigger and bigger couldn't keep going forever. It also doesn't help that Japanese media would often reference things like Godzilla, where atomic weapons go out of control, well, now we have giant monsters. Japan was positioned in a sense that they understood that an imbalance would eventually lead to a counter-reaction. But this anti-establishment movement started small. It started personal. Japanese cyberpunk has its roots in Japanese punk music, that whole scene. Soko Ishii's films like Panic High School and Crazy Thunder Road from 1978 and 1980 focus on teenagers that reject the oppressive systems of order that force people to enter the corporatized workforce as a useful cog in someone else's machine. Crazy Thunder Road especially focused on a biker gang, and it's no coincidence that a few years later, the most iconic 80s cyberpunk film, Akira, also centered on a group of teenage biker gangs that reject the Japanese status quo and are thus the only ones that can actually hold society together in some form. They stand apart from society as it's destroyed by runaway technology, but they're also there to survive its fall and rebuild afterwards. But in Japan, things eventually fell apart. Class divide is a core theme throughout cyberpunk in general, but especially Japanese cyberpunk. Battle Angel Alita is a work where the rich exist on a floating island overlooking the dumpster that is other society. They let their broken trash tumble down like rain, piling up in dunes. There's a visual component here, illustrating just where the wealthy rule and where the poor dwell, as well as how Earth becomes literally a wasteland. As we crossed into the era of the Lost Generation especially, works began to emphasize how advanced technological advancement tended to leave people in the dust. Akira does this by focusing entirely on biker gangs, on the normal people who are rejected by this distant society. Similar again to Crazy Thunder Road. They're aimless. Schools are covered in filth, treated more like abusive systems that reshape you into perfect models. But at the same time, it feels like a giant dumpster. It's funny that keeps happening, isn't it? There's romanticism in these adolescents completely rejecting these systems of order in favor of just being themselves as the world rots, and as those on top topple down eventually by their own means, falling out of control. In Bubblegum Crisis, the world is physically torn apart by an earthquake, resulting in physical damage to Tokyo that externalizes the economic strains already in place. As a result, we witness the world about to collapse under its own pressure. A bubble about to pop. I wonder if that's intentional, that lane change. We'll find out later. Might be something there. It also should be no surprise that the main character in Tetsuo the Iron Man is, by all intents and purposes, a normal salaryman, hiding a dark secret. One that is manifested as, through the metaphor of the film, metal tearing his body apart from the inside out. Augmentations. He goes from a normal man with a wife to a giant phallus fused with a metal fetishist who wants to destroy the world. And it should be noted, as we've been alluding to, in Japan, things did fall apart. The economic boom gave way to a massive depression. The Lost Generation refers to workers who were promised a booming economy, but inherited a system that had just totally collapsed. As they mounted the top of the ladder, the legs fell out from beneath them. And Japan never recovered from it. Not really, anyway. Unemployment peaked, and people felt, well, lost, abandoned. Works like Blame illustrate a world where the means of industry sort of just spun out of their own way, with a labyrinthian megacity the size of Jupiter, filled with impossible mazes, and multiple layers stacked on top of another. It makes you feel lost. I guess in the same way that the industrious wasteland that Japanese people inherited made them feel lost. It's hard not to compare the economic machine slipping through the control of Japanese people and the technological machine slipping through the hands of humanity, especially considering Japanese businesses sprang into the future thanks to a new focus on technology in the 70s. What would happen if they kept going? What would happen if the technology outpaced themselves? What happens if nuclear weapons wake up a giant radioactive lizard? You see what all comes back to the same couple of things, doesn't it? In the late 80s, Japan created two of the most iconic works of Japanese cyberpunk ever, Akira and Tetsuo the Iron Man. And both have a great name, Tetsuo, interestingly enough. And neither of these works deal with cyborgs in the traditional sense, not like how Blade Runner does anyway, nor computer hacking or anything like that. Rather, we get something recreated, spiraling out of control, that ultimately destroys us. The world of Tetsuo the Iron Man has no law and order. The metal fetishist is just run over by the main couple's car, and no one cares. No one even notices he's dead. A woman is this half-molten metal creature that just chases the protagonist around a train station, and no one raises an eyebrow. It's like a weird David Lynchian hellscape. A woman is murdered by mounting her husband's phallus drill, and no one cares. No one calls, the streets are empty. It's a weird world. People turn into metal, and no one raises an eyebrow. And it just ends with two men merging into a giant phallus tank, promising to ravage the earth with metal until everyone is merged into their unified systems of machinery parts. And there's not a single cop in the city to stop them. This movie's amazing. I love this movie. It's so insane. Another similar film is 964 Pinocchio, a film about an android who was abandoned by its corporation, left sentient yet obsolete, a sex slave, unable to perform the task it was made for, that being prostitution. The film focuses on this machine's gradual metamorphosis and assimilation with a human girl left without a home. Again,
we are listening to
machines
Anthony
merge with flesh.
Gramigula.
That won't come up at all
I'm going to
On the other
put
hand,
the
Akira centers on a group
link
of punks who exist on the
here.
fringes of society.
Anthony
Kinda
is
only
a
interested
critic
in
I've been
saving his
enjoying the
friend
past
Tetsuo.
few months.
Again,
He
see
puts
what I
out some
mean?
good
Kinda
comics
isn't
and
interested in
superhero content,
politics.
but
He's completely
also he
disinterested in
covers
becoming
like some
a functional
side
member
of
of
BookTube
society.
I find
Let's
interesting
clear it.
as far
He
as
wants to
the
ride his bike and save his buddies. And
the
that's it.
reactionary
characters are
whining
toys
over things like
that
fan
both wants
fiction
to
and monster
establish
fucking.
control and order, as well as experiment with technology they don't understand at all. While the military overtakes the government at the end, it's pretty pointless. Things are already out of control. What are they in charge of? The dust? You know? Yeah, they have a fascist dictatorship now, but what do they really have control over? Nothing. A dead, empty city. All as Tetsuo is transformed by the government's technology. He assimilates with Akira and becomes a god of a new universe. Again, the concept of two things using is a reoccurring pattern here. I wonder why that might be. The only presence of cops in Akira are the riot crews that try to quell protests against the corrupt government. But the government also has ties to the protests, so again, it's a corruption thing. It's all a giant Game of Thrones, and the throne burns at the end. So there you go. But it's true for a lot of Japanese sci-fi stories, isn't it? For example, let's look at some more anime. Bubblegum Crisis, Dirty Pair, and others focus on vigilantes who work outside the law, working with cyberpunk police systems. Bubblegum Crisis especially has some spin-offs like AD Police, which centers on the police force in the periphery of Bubblegum Crisis. In this world, a great earthquake, as I said before, has split Japan into two separate halves. Each half diverges from the other economically. Meanwhile, there's American imperialism, wealth disparity, corporate interference, most notably the creation
What's up, Barney?
of the boomers. Not that kind of boomer. Cyborgs akin to Blade Runner's replicants, mixed with Terrier aesthetics, I guess. While the AD police are dispatched to stop the boomers, the original series follows a mercenary group known as the Night Sabers. And all the members are women who don cybernetic exoskeletons that grant them superior abilities, and they kind of help maintain order and help people out where the police can't. So right there, we see the issues at play. Corporate exploitation, creating technology that goes rogue constantly. Wealth disparity, the fact that high levels of technology don't actually make things better. High tech, low life. Horrors of cyberpunk, as William Gibson put it. When asked why they chose the title
All right, we got it.
in America in 1993, series writer Toshimichi Suzuki explained,
"We originally named the series Bubblegum to reflect a world in crisis, like a chewing gum bubble that's about to burst."
As for Dirty Pair, I really love this series, but it's less traditional cyberpunk and more futuristic sci-fi. I just think it's really cool how this is a future that is just so exciting and apparently has trans rights in it, so, go that. Point is, Dirty Pair is a fantastic series. However, despite its goofier style, they are undoubtedly elements of Japanese cyberpunk woven throughout the series. The titular Dirty Pair, the Lovely Angels, as they could be called, are part of the World Wellness Works Association, or 3WA. It's a private organization that solves planet-sized problems. In the first episode, a rogue computer system that operates an entire space colony of 5 million people rebels against its human overlords after discovering a kill switch that can disengage the system. The Dirty Pair solve this problem by turning off the computer. But, doing nothing serious. They just warp an entire spaceship inside its hard drive. It's not graceful, but it does, it gets the job done. And it does deal with the fear of technology escaping human control. The Dirty Pair aren't cops, but they do investigate crimes, including companies sending terrorists to sabotage them. Again, many of the problems that the Lovely Angels face are due entirely to corporate malice or computer malfunctions, and they operate as cops essentially outside the law. But the cops that are there aren't suited or equipped to handle these issues. While I love both of these shows, Dirty Pair and the Night Sabers are in effect paramilitary groups that work outside the law to maintain order because the police aren't equipped enough. They're insufficient. They do what the cops can't. Not necessarily because the cops are corrupt or abuse their power, but because they aren't willing to do what's necessary to maintain order.
I don't have it, Colonel. I'm sorry.
To maintain order. Like, say, drop a spaceship inside of a computer in space, Of course, the work that I basically made this video to discuss is Ghost in the Shell. Starting as
Good
a
morning.
manga by Shiro Masamune, before being famously adapted by Mamoru Oshii in 1995, as well as the standalone complex series and There was another prequel.
Barney, we've
several
infiltrated the
VAs. There,
base.
there were a lot of adaptations of Ghost in the Shell, including that one movie with Scarlett Johansson where she plays a Japanese woman. That was a thing that exists. But let's limit our focus a little bit on here and focus primarily on the original manga and its initial film. Though Standalone Complex also has a lot of these themes apparent in it as well. Ghost in the Shell focuses on Section 9, a special police organization focused on advanced cybercrime. In this future, which is now I think close to the present than ever before, all parts of the body can become cybernetic, right down to your brains. So people can hack a person's brain and rewrite their entire personality and memories. The soul is now a digitized component known only as a ghost. And Motoko Kusanagi is almost entirely an inorganic cyborg whose body belongs almost exclusively to Section 9. And she doesn't really seem to know if she's even human anymore, because so much of her flesh has been replaced. Real Ship of Theseus thoughts here. At least, that's in the anime film. Mamoru's film is a very existential work that analyzes how we connect with humanity as technology slowly consumes all of us across every aspect of our lives. There's a scene in both the manga and the anime Ghost in the Shell that I think is really interesting to highlight. A trash collector is a useful tool of a cyber hacker who has rewritten his memories, creating motivation for him to act in a certain way. The specifics aren't as important to the end result. In the anime, we see this truck driver learn his memories of a wife and child are a mirage, they're an illusion, one that falls apart the moment a few key questions are asked, like, what's your wife's name? What does she look like? The scene is haunting and tragic as we see his life unravel before our very eyes. But the manga does this as a joke. He goes to work next day and his coworker's like, hey, how about that wife and kids? Am I right? He makes fun of him for the whole affair. And the trash guy just seems kind of annoyed by all of it. Like it's a casual annoyance for him. And both of these are horrifying. Yeah, Oshi's film is more overtly horrifying. It really deals in the existential dread you feel. But like, is humanity so machine-like now that everything can be rewritten with a keyboard and we're just kind of adjusted to it? It's like a normal annoyance. It's as annoying as someone hacking your phone or something. Like, we just not care? Like, that's disturbing implications there. But I know it's a gag, it's not meant to be taken too seriously, but the elements there, it speaks to a greater rot in our society. Obviously, movies like Tetsuo the Iron Man talked about transhumanism, the idea that humanity will transcend the flesh through machinery. But it's different in Ghost in the Shell because it feels more invasive. Advancing, we're becoming more vulnerable. Our souls are data, and data can be rewritten in a heartbeat. But on the other hand, we get the Puppet Master, a program known as 2501 that exists as a tool of the government to excuse legally gray actions, to put it mildly. But this program is now sentient. However, unlike Skynet, AM from I Have No Mouth and Scream, the Puppet Master wants to become more human. First by taking a body, then requesting political asylum, before finally merging with Motoko herself. Not only are people becoming more machine-like and losing sense of their humanity, machines are becoming indistinguishable
all right there, Barney?
from people, and are questioning their mechanisms, until the two perfectly intermix and combine. But what role do the police have in this narrative? The role police have in Ghost in the Shell is complicated. The core members of Section 9 are seen as generally good people. And not just that, but they're necessary to maintaining order and control, and protecting the law, and protecting our souls, essentially. At the same time, however, they also operate on the fringes of the law, often shooting without warning, using military-grade weaponry. They have anti-tank rifles for day-to-day combat. That's a lot of firepower. Now, in the manga, we see pushback against Section 9 from various civil rights groups. While the anime regards other police divisions and other government agencies as corrupt and maybe even dangerous, secondary to Section 9's authority, again, more like the Night Sabers than a normal police force, the manga frames Section 9 as a little different. They're a force that needs to function for government to maintain order. While they do the right thing for the good of society, any questions of their authority should be dismissed. While Motoko in the anime is seen as self-reflective, in the manga, she is convinced entirely in her duty. She is a ardent supporter of law and order. She's also far less introspective and far more interested in making love with other characters, specifically women. So I guess that's a far cry from the Stonewall cops in America, right there when the cops in this one I'm not digress. But the recurring theme is this. The system resists the out-of-control elements in society, either through the police or a paramilitary force outside of the police, or potentially the rebels in society maintain a vote.
Weird
We can
floor.
directly see what each society fears as a result, as well as the core tenets of cyberpunk. That advancing technology won't actually improve our lives. If anything,
probably
it might
blow
make
up
us
these
more
walls with the right
Indeed,
tools.
Motoko is just as vulnerable to the influences that she tries fighting as any of us. But the difference is, in Motoko's story, it only comes to a conclusion when she relinquishes control and allows herself to evolve in new and fascinating ways. Oshi's film ends with a haunting promise of an untold future. And indeed, Sandalone Complex especially illustrates how those most vulnerable are those lower on the totem pole. And it illustrates how this future harms and how corporate interests exploit it. Very effective. In this sense, the manga having Motoko be a figure of authority almost feels a little counterintuitive. It feels almost like a counterpoint to the version of Motoko that Oshi and Sandalone Complex presents. But what we see now, as a whole, we see another element to everything. Different countries have different views of their systems of law enforcement, and that's reflected in pop culture. This is in part because police are held accountable in Japan. In 2024, Japan saw over 200 officers penalized for misbehavior, most often just verbal harassment. Yeah, in Japan.
Yeah, I think
officers
about
were
how much
dismissed
of
because they said
my
rude things.
editing and
Compare that to
career
other
stuff
countries
is
where
just
misconduct by
interfacing with
officers is prevalent.
screens.
In America and Japan have very different pictures of what law enforcement accountability is like. You know, here there are thousands of annual reports of police misconduct in states in America. We have more misconduct files in an individual state in America.
Ooh, is this the
than
second
whole
building
country of
underground?
Japan.
Nice.
And granted, you can make the argument that fewer reports are issued. That's also possible as well. Japan does have a problem with underreporting certain cases of crime. But 200 police officers were penalized for misbehavior in 2024. America? Far less. But there are reports of crime in America. Now, again, one can make the argument that things are underreported, which is possible and probable too. But it's also important to remember how a lot of Japanese films about the police, they're inspired by American works. Japanese police, for example, rarely discharge their weapons, yet in Japanese cinema, they're always firing something. You gave Motoko Kusanagi anti-tank rifles, you know? So why do we constantly see Japanese police officers bringing guns and tanks in cyberpunk media? Well, it's because they're depicting a future that's influenced by America. Don't forget, the 80 police in the Bubblegum Crisis, that's from an Americanized Japan. It's the opposite of what Gibson believed in, of Japan influencing America. Bubblegum Crisis is the inverse of that. Look, when Gibson looked across the sea in Japan, he took Japanese culture into his world. But they were superficial elements like throwing stars and street samurai, not the culture behind it. Gibson's Japan is a lot like Gibson's real-life Canada. But now we're seeing Japan do that with America, taking American aesthetics and incorporating it into their works. And we're seeing it through the glass
This
darkly.
is the
We're
old
seeing
building.
the failures of American colonialism through the eyes of Japanese storytelling. And I think the fact that it's so engaging to both audiences and celebrated by both audiences should give you pause to consider the implications of that. Are institutions of fiction, much like technology, slipping outside of control? And if so, will it rear its head like a giant radioactive kaiju that destroys us? Or can we learn to relinquish control and blend to overcome? To transition from one stage of humanity, one stage of human culture, to something terrible, terrifying, because of its unexpected, unpredictable nature.
So everything's not computer 3.2? Is that what you're saying? All right, we're moving on to a different video.
I am so sick.
This is one that was on the Discord. Crutler recommended. I'd never heard of this channel before.
From the very beginning, I have always found people that defend AI art to simply
So shout out to Crutler, shout out to the TechnoParty Discord.
Or uncommon.
We're going to be watching a fistful of dynamite.
My issue isn't that they
Come
deviate from
Sunday.
the norm or or anything
Info
like
on that on our link tree. Basically, you can go over to Patreon. There's info on how you can get over to our Discord. Oh no.
The debate over AI and all its forms is a little unique in my opinion. A lot of popular cultural conversations are deeply online.
Everything's
to
not
like a
computer.
creepy degree. It's
Oh
always
shit, this is gonna
hypotheticals
kill
that
me.
don't really
Alright.
affect anyone. And in most cases, if someone's anonymously debating about something online, they're probably just bored and seeking cognitive or intellectual stimulation. That's like
Don't go in
the
the
entire
water, is
reason
what
that
I've
Reddit
learned.
exists. And unfortunately, I myself sometimes use Reddit. In fact, on paper, I actually am kind of okay with Reddit.
Yep.
And I began using it for the sole purpose of accessing one
There's like a
singular
mid-level
forum
community
or
sweet spot
subreddit
for
called
answers you can really get good out
r/solarpunk.
of.
Solarpunk is a social, political, and aesthetic movement that envisions a hypothetical utopian future where people live in peace with one another and harmony with the natural world through the application of appropriate and efficient technologies. You might have seen glimpses of solarpunk art or aesthetics in the form of shiny chrome cityscapes covered in the natural greens of plant life, which most of the time those depictions are really just like crappy corporate greenwashing, but whatever. Solarpunk contrasts itself with cyberpunk, a grittier dystopian perspective on how the world may change as technology advances. And if it's not obvious, we probably are heading towards a
Solid
cyberpunk
Snake,
dystopia
I mean, is
if
Big
we don't
Boss the
already live in
one-armed
one
man
right
or
now.
one-eyed man?
So that's the reason that when I found out there was a forum, a community of online people that were interested in this hopeful alternative, I just got enamored. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I've always been like a counterculture, rebellious, punk rock, hippie person. This entire aesthetic sounds like everything I could ever love, and so I found this subreddit and I learned to love it. Solarpunk is not a new idea at all. It has roots and ties to environmentalism,
Also,
which is a tradition
so when
and
I look
practice
up
that's
something
been
or I'm
around
looking
since
on
the dawn
Reddit,
of
it's typically on the
humankind
mobile
itself.
version on my phone,
Stewardship
and the
of our
way that
natural
like
world
sponsored
is not a new
advertisements
thing.
look just
And
like
both
regular
writing and art
replies is
depicting
so
solarpunk
frustrating in that
aesthetics is not a
format.
new thing either. The actual specific term for solarpunk is nearly 20 years old, and it seems to have first appeared back in 2008. And before that, the idea of an ecological, sustainable, or harmonious utopian future civilization that has appeared in science fiction writing for about as long as people have been writing science fiction. Solarpunk maybe sets itself apart by focusing on more real and present sustainable technologies, namely solar panels, what we science people tend to call photovoltaics. And yes, I say we for science people because my name is Spencer. I'm the person that wrote the script I'm currently reading to you right now. And I'm also a science teacher. I am the quiet part. But making videos is not all that I do. I have a bachelor's degree in secondary science education and have taught science and environmental science on and off for years. And the entire reason I became interested in solarpunk was because when I first started teaching, I found myself wrestling with a pretty big issue. My students were completely and totally apathetic towards the topic of climate change. Whenever I'd introduced the topic as it stands, I found myself met with a bunch of teenagers that were masters of an interesting mix of nihilism and absurdism. The common consensus among my students was that there was nothing we could do and the world was essentially going to end. They felt that they were powerless to stop things from getting worse, and I didn't blame them. Modern global geopolitics has made it extremely apparent that a very small group of people have the vast majority of power over what happens on our planet, and the direction they're taking us in is one of ecological and biodiversity collapse. But that frustrated me. I knew as an environmental scientist that the technology exists to not only stop climate change, but practically reverse it if we felt like it. And I knew that because of the dozens and dozens of courses I took in university where I learned environmental science in the first place. So I found a home in this little nerdy online forum. I made a Reddit account. Big mistake, I completely acknowledge that. But through this forum, I was able to start learning. And I learned so many new ideas that I was able to bring into the classroom. I built curriculum for my students that had them learning how to build solar arrays and aquaponic systems.
Is this one
I
going to go
taught
up
them
to 10 as
time-tested
well?
indigenous practices for gardening and permaculture, and it was such a blast, and I owe so much to a stupid little subreddit. I owe even more to the people that contributed to it and allowed it to keep functioning as a tool for education and inspiration. But over the past few years, I've noticed a sudden and serious problem. Every other day, I see another post like this These are, in essence, AI slop posts, where either a bot or an actual human being has completely lost their mind and decided to have Claude or Grok or ChatGPT or Gemini develop some absolutely insane blueprint for a better world, or like some kind of crazy manifesto. And if you explore inside of these things, you'll find just a bunch of incoherent, buzzword-laden scriptures of slop-made jargon. Every other day, it's another scam, or grift, or shill, or instance of literal AI psychosis or hysteria on this subreddit, with something about cryptocurrency always thrown in for spice. It's terrible, and I'm so sick of it. AI fatigue is real. And sometimes I can't even tell the bots from the real people anymore, not because the AI is so good at passing off as a person, but because the actual grifters depend so heavily on buzzwords that they start sounding like AI and robots themselves. And of course, it doesn't just stop there. AI art pisses me off just as much, if not more. It's so bad that the moderators of r/solarpunk had to start linking a dedicated separate subreddit.
I think Clark's World magazine had to stop taking submissions for a moment because too many people were overloading it with AI slop submissions for the short stories. And that's like a sci-fi publishing establishment. That is like a channel you don't want to damage like that.
This video is
and yeah, a lot of AI slop can just drown out these mid-level communities. It's the gutting out of just culture
regarding this entire propaganda disguised as a debate. It's as simple as, if it mostly causes harm to people or the world, it's not worth it. And if you can't get behind that, then genuinely fuck off. Just because half of America voted for a pedophile warmonger, that doesn't mean it's suddenly okay to be in favor of human suffering or global ecological collapse. No, I actually won't write an hour-long video essay rehashing all the objective empirical data we have about how AI data centers are terrible for the world, because 1,000 other people more qualified than me have already done that work, and you just have to look at it. They have citations and all. Go watch a Hank Green video or something if that's what you want. This channel is called The Quiet Part for a reason. And in this video, I intend to say the quiet part out loud. First up, let's have some linguistic clarity. When I talk about AI, I'm talking about what the meaning of the word has become, not what it was originally meant to be. A lot of very smart people have already pointed out that things like large language models, such as ChatGPT, are by definition not truly intelligent. They're just really good at making guesses. The same thing with AI image and video generators. You can't really call that intelligence. A neural network that's been trained on 10 terabytes of data is just that, a really well-informed neural network. We haven't created sentient, intelligent, and sapient artificial life that we've seen in sci-fi yet. And honestly, on the topic of things like neural networks and machine vision, I want to say plainly that supporting the thoughtful and purposeful application of those technologies does not make someone an AI tech bro. I think the idea of an app that helps identify if potatoes in your garden have blight is a pretty neat and useful thing that, if powered sustainably, could be a net positive for the world. But those situations and things like machine vision algorithms that analyze CT scans for signs of cancer, those are not the sorts of things that AI bros are defending. In my mind, an AI bro is someone who goes as far as defending AI art and things like ChatGPT. You've seen it before, and everybody's talked about it. The whole concept of AI art is controversial for a whole bunch of very, very obvious reasons. And you can really get into the weeds with the whole conversation. What is art? Does art have to be man-made? Can art exist without the people that make it? Maybe art is an emergent phenomenon. Maybe it's not about who makes it. Maybe art exists only because it's being seen. And without an observer, maybe nothing can really be art. And these video and image generators, aren't they just tools? The same as a paintbrush or drawing tablet? Oh, but these generative AIs, they're trained on other people's work, like without their permission. That violates the principles of copyright and ownership. But oh, isn't the idea of private and intellectual property itself an issue? And it goes on and on and on forever, and I hate that everyone is acting like everything has to be debated endlessly before it can be true. As a teacher, that breaks my brain, because the entire point of making everyone in the world really smart is that at some point, we're all supposed to make our own decisions. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have conversations. I'm not saying that every decision and conclusion should be made without the counsel of other people or healthy discourse, but at some point, you have to think for yourself and form an actual conclusion. And no, it doesn't have to fall into some perfect binary of yes or no. Life is gray. So with that out of the way, I'm going to shift the tone a whole lot and all at once. And I just wanted to take some time explaining things, since this is the first kind of thought out video that I'll be posting regarding what all these billionaires are trying to convince us is called AI. All right, are you ready for it? Are you strapped in?
Red
Here's the pitch.
Blaster.
When people defend their use of generative AI, the stuff that makes art or music or writes things for you, in almost every case, their arguments are the result of a kind of behavioral conditioning that has allowed them to think that this jump from a tool that makes something for you to then owning the output of that thing, that mental jump is the result of a kind of conditioning that has happened to almost everyone in America. In behavioral psychology, conditioning generally describes the discipline that concerns itself with understanding the processes that shape human behavior. The old heads of discipline include Ivan Pavlov and B.F. Skinner. Pavlov was the dude that was training dogs to salivate at the ring of a bell. He'd present dogs with food and ring a bell each time he fed them, and before long, he came to see that the ringing of the bell alone could cause the dogs to start salivating. And in doing so, he figured out one of the most fundamental cognitive processes on Earth, what we call classical conditioning. B.F. Skinner took the idea a step further and figured out that not only can you control behavior this way, you can actually encourage or discourage behaviors through the introduction of punishments and rewards.
You're lucky this is a long elevator.
We call that operant conditioning. And in the modern day, we know even more about the neurological basis for these processes. And what we know is that the human mind and human behavior is incredibly complex, and it is especially one thing. It is incredibly able to acclimate to almost anything. We ourselves can be made to salivate at the ring of a bell and practically anything else.
I think I just have to go to the elevator furthest out
abuse and mistreatment.
and bomb some walls.
We are the perfect frogs for boiling in water, because as it first begins to bubble, we can tell ourselves that the water isn't yet boiling. It's just very warm, and the Epstein files are fake and not worth worrying about. None of that happened. Please forget about it. This process isn't conditioning so much as it's what I would call acclimation. And the thing we've become more acclimated to than anything so far is the economic system at the center of all of our lives that we call capitalism. Whether you like it or hate it, you can't do a single thing in America today without spending money. You can't sleep anywhere for free.
It costs $40 to go outside.
You can't drink, you can't get medicine or see a doctor. You can't do a single thing without engaging with the economy or market. And this whole capitalism thing is truly the stuff of miracles, as far as I'm concerned. We're able to buy and eat things here in America that couldn't possibly be made in our own communities. All that oil and gas, those plastic toys and shiny gadgets, all the nickel, cobalt, and cadmium in our shiny electric cars, and the lithium in our cell phone batteries, and in the camera I'm using right now to record this video. It's the stuff of miracles, it really is. But much like the Wizard of Oz, that magic is just trickery. Now let me pause for a moment. I know that I've said the C word, and that's going to trigger and scare a lot of people all at once, so you may be feeling weary. You may be asking yourself, what am I, some kind of communist or socialist? Personally, I'm not sure. I've read as much capitalist theory as I've read communist theory. That is to say, I've read literally none of either, and so have you. About pretty much everyone you've ever known has not sat down and read capitalist theory books. Just like most people you know haven't sat down and read communist theory books.
Sadly, I do have the Communist Manifesto and also The Magicians, or I don't know if it's called The Magicians. It's the one about the Fed.
Just as many people can probably only describe communism as when the government does and owns everything. In both cases, the common understanding of both systems is pretty poor. But it's a certain fact that in America and most parts of the world right now, the average person's economic life mostly reflects living a life under capitalism. So if I am any kind of ist, such as communist or capitalist or whatever else, what I am is a journalist. I take an interest in the lives and experiences of real people in the real world. You can check my channel now and you'll see that about a third of all my videos are documentaries where I cover protests and activism in my own local community. I don't care to ascribe myself to any one particular group of things as much as I prefer to just tell people what I value. And those things are egalitarianism, environmentalism, and punk, fighting back against power and oppression. I care about justice. And right now, under capitalism, I'm seeing a bunch of people getting
I am curious to check out more of this channel because it is only at 5K subs, and I am interested in this perspective.
I'm probably an anarchist, but that's like another story for another video. Don't worry about that. Don't just forget what I said. Forget that. Just like you're supposed to forget the Epstein files. It never happened. I never said.
I mean, in
that.
theory,
Don't
I think
worry about
everyone should be an
How about
anarchist.
this? I'll give you my definition of capitalism, and you tell me
Just
how
in
I
the
do.
sense that,
I won't
like,
look anything
you
up,
need to
and
manage
I
yourself.
have not looked anything up for the script. I won't reference any texts. This is just what I'm going to work with. This is what I came up off from my head, right? I think capitalism is best defined as an economic framework for organizing commerce and currency-based markets where property can be owned, bought, and sold privately.
Oh,
In
I can't
essence,
bomb
I see
kids.
capitalism from my worker's perspective on the ground as a system
That
where
should be
anybody can
a
own
duh,
anything
but,
as long
you
as they
know,
have
not
enough
for
money.
Solid
And if you know
Snake.
anything about politics, that's pretty much literally true. And that, my friends, is when we return back to our conversation about AI tech bros who support AI art or having ChatGPT do everything. What about them feels so wrong? And the answer is this.
Yeah, pretty much,
Generative
Jari.
AI and its applications hold the mirror up to the face of capitalism itself. Under capitalism, we are blessed with the miracles of being able to buy anything from anywhere, but behind the curtain lies exploitation. The rare earth minerals and blood diamonds mined in Africa, the sweatshops assembling televisions in Asia, the American worker making $7 an hour to generate hundreds of dollars of profit while their body breaks down because they can't afford healthcare. Oh, but those businesses have owners, right? Is what people say. And those owners, they took a risk. And that risk allows them to take ownership of all the profit from all the labor of the people that actually keep their business running. This doesn't actually make any sense. And we think that it makes sense because we're used to it. We've become acclimated to living in a world where that idea is truth. But is it? Is a CEO really doing anything if all they do is buy some product produced through foreign exploitation just to then flip it here in the US for a profit? When a McDonald's employee clocks in and does their job, why should some CEO they've never met be allowed to own the profit that those employees generated through actually doing the work? Do these people think we're fucking stupid? Do they really believe we can't see like what's going on? That if we were to stop doing all this work for them, their entire system would collapse because all the systems depend on us actually doing the work. The reason AI bros piss me off is that they think they're the CEOs of the slop they've gotten their algorithms to generate for them. They think that by asking the question, they're somehow entitled to
Only thing I can think of is
else's
maybe
answer.
trying to use the
But they didn't
C4
do
on the
thinking.
dude in
They
the
didn't do
walls, the
drawing.
red bomber.
And as a matter
We'll
of
see.
fact, most of these models, whether
I'm
it be
beelining
image
it there 'cause
generators
I
or
don't
large
have
language
health.
models, in both cases, the models were trained on the real work of real people. And so, newsflash, tech bros, that's not how that works. It's weird as fuck to have some robo-slave do all the thinking and work for you when you could just get off your ass and do it yourself. And it's true in the exact same way that billionaires claiming they did the work of 1 million people is weird and creepy and antisocial and exploitative. And these fuckheads really think that by typing in some stupid prompt, they have the right to lay claim to the output of these systems? In the very same way that billionaires believe they have a right to all the profit that their employees actually generated through labor. No! That's total insanity, and I won't stand for it. If generative AI owned by billionaires has done any good, it's that their implementation has made their corruption clear and allowed us frogs to see that the pot is indeed about to boil. It's not enough to just be anti-capitalist. What we need is post-capitalism. The system is coming down one way or another, whether it be under its own weight of corruption or because me and my friends have decided that we're not as stupid as everyone told us we are.
Yeah, the
and we can, in
post-capital
fact,
imaginary is a
read
good one.
without an AI to summarize everything for us. And that's what solar punk is to me. It's a punk rock kid that can see the world for what it could be in spite of the way that it is. If you like this video, be sure to like it. Get subscribed to see more of my work, and consider checking out the Story Seed library linked in the description down below. It's a collection of human-made solar punk artwork that's
I
free
can't
to
do
view, and in
that.
some cases free to modify and distribute, as everything there is one kind of Creative Commons or another. I have no particular affiliation with this website. I don't know too much about it other than that I talked to the person who made it once and I like it, and I'm not making any money from it. I haven't posted anything there. I just think it's a cool, inspirational place to go if you want to see some non-AI art of a hopeful future. And lastly, fuck AI art, fuck Palantir, free Palestine, and prosecute the Epstein class. Peace.
I've used machine labor for years, machine learning for years. Never claimed the hours of work done by individual labor.
2024, police received calls for a wellness check for someone whose family could not reach. After a day of repeated attempts to make contact with the occupant, police finally entered their apartment. Located in the Lower Heights neighborhood of downtown San Francisco, what they found was odd. Items in disarray on a table, camping supplies in front of the entryway, but a closer look to the right revealed the worst. A body.
Maven.
The deceased
Project
body
Maven.
of Suchir Balaji, a 26-year-old ex-OpenAI employee who a month earlier left the company due to feeling uncomfortable with the trajectory the organization was taking. He was found supine, face up, with an apparent. Immediately, San Francisco's medical examiner quickly ruled Suchir's death a suicide. Suchir's parents were crushed, their only son dead, mere days after his birthday. But most of all, his parents were immediately skeptical, made suspicious by odd circumstances and a feeling something larger was going on. But they
Palantir
didn't just
dashboard.
speculate.
Yeah.
They hired a private investigator, a forensic pathologist, radiologist, and ballistics expert. This confirmed further suspicion that at the minimum, the official report doesn't make a lot of sense. And disturbingly, at most, Suchir's death is looking very convenient for one of the most powerful corporations in the United States.
Speaking of
Who
Palantir,
was Suchir Balaji? Suchir
Oh, well, I guess
was
this is about
an incredibly
OpenAI.
bright and passionate computer science graduate of UC Berkeley. He was deeply interested in machine learning and neural networking, two subjects at the very heart of what we call AI.
how you
Right out
feeling,
of
Barney?
college, he
You're
was
sounding
recruited
better.
by OpenAI as an AI researcher, responsible for organizing training data on the internet used for the famous service ChatGPT. Essentially, information on the internet for the AI model to learn from. Suchir made an immediate impact. John Schulman, a co-founder of OpenAI, stated, Suchir's contributions to this project were essential, and it wouldn't have succeeded without him. Suchir hoped that AI would lead to new cures for diseases, expanding our understanding of physics, and make technological leaps that would help all of humanity. Suchir joined relatively early, during OpenAI's transition into a for-profit entity.
See, the thing too, Ja, is
This is
if
where
Palantir
the
and them all
public
run the
story
military,
Suchir
why are
begins.
things still so bad as far as the management of, well, like, look at what's going on with Iran.
On October 23rd of 2024, the New York Times dropped an article with Suchir at the forefront. Former OpenAI researcher says the company broke copyright law. Suchir had deep ethical concerns with how OpenAI was building ChatGPT, concern of stealing copyrighted material throughout the internet. So much so, he stated in an interview with the New York Times, "If you believe what I believe, you have to just leave the company." OpenAI is claiming fair use, a legal stipulation that allows some to utilize copyrighted content in very specific, unique, and creative use cases. Suchir released a very enlightening technical write-up titled, "When Does Generative AI Qualify for Fair Use?", which goes into fine detail on how ChatGPT potentially violates fair use laws. Suchir concluded, "None of the four factors seem to weigh in favor of ChatGPT being a fair use of its training data. That being said, none of the arguments here are fundamentally specific to ChatGPT either, and similar arguments could be made for many generative AI products in a wide variety of domains."
Whoop, whoop. You going on an adventure?
OpenAI wasn't pioneering anything unique.
Okay.
It was distilling the internet into a worse, hallucinated version, repackaging existing internet services, and allowing a monolithic corporation to take everyone's work, data, and turn it into a multi-billion-dollar chatbot. This was not the vision Suchir aligned with, and in October 2024, he quit OpenAI, and he spoke out against corporate abuse of power. And only a month later, he was found deceased in his apartment. Before we move further, something should be stated. This video is going to focus on the immediate, current facts available. But importantly, this is a moving situation subject to change. Also, due to YouTube's guidelines, this video will be heavily censored. Because of that, I will release a less censored, ad-free version on my Patreon and website, which I'll leave a link below if you're interested. It was a cloudy day in San Francisco. For most, it was a normal Tuesday right before Thanksgiving. But at 188 Buchanan Street, the day-to-day minutia was interrupted by a large police presence. At 1:15 p.m., San Francisco police responded to a second wellness check after previously knocking on Suchir's door with no answer. The police gained entry.
Barney, I can assist you in a moment, ma'am.
As stated before, to the right in the bathroom's entrance was Suchir's body. At this point, Suchir has been deceased for either 2 to 3 days. According to the official police report, he was in moderate decomposition from an apparent gunshot wound to the head. Underneath Suchir's right thigh was his own Gen 4 Glock 17, which malfunctioned after a gunshot. Specifically, the spent casing failed to extract and left the firearm out of battery. Immediately, to Suchir's mother, the explanation of a suit made little sense. Suchir had a very active life, with close friendships. After leaving OpenAI, he received multi-million-dollar job offers from other AI firms, and even had plans to start a nonprofit in the AI space.
Oh no.
But perhaps most pertinent of all, one of the last days.
Alright, I think I need to blow something up and open up a secret passage in the basement, which has to do with that one empty room, and I don't know what to do with that empty room.
This is where stuff gets odd. The circumstances around his death. What's weird is that the camera for the elevator Suchir used was disabled. Here is a picture. As you can see, where the camera should be, there are exposed Ethernet cables. While this can be explainable in isolation, this is the beginning of a pattern of abnormalities that come up frequently in this case. Luckily, one camera did catch Suchir, and as of this moment, this is the very last visual the world has of him.
Sorry, Barney, I'm also very enthralled by this video.
Does anyone find anything odd here? We'll play it again. It's right here. Suchir ordered takeout right before his death. This poses immediate questions. Why order takeout before ending? And further, why was said takeout half-eaten? Perhaps Suchir decided to have one last meal, simply tossing it when finished. While this is possible, it's certainly abnormal, and the abnormalities are only beginning. A warning before we proceed. Blood was found all over the bathroom. On the sink, the floor, and along the door. The pattern below the sink is also a bit odd, almost like drops, something akin to a bloody nose. In a crime scene reconstruction report, it's reported this is respirated blood from Suchir's mouth that landed on the floor, which perhaps could be completely accurate. It just seems like an odd place for respirated blood given the location of Suchir's body.
Respirated, alright.
But that's not all. This photo is also concerning. A trash can that is knocked over. Now, in the same reconstruction report, it's stated that Suchir may have knocked over the trash can as he fell. While certainly possible, I'm not fully convinced due to the position of his body. For this to happen, the resting location of the trash can would be in an odd spot. The physics also seem difficult. Possible, but difficult. The easiest way this could have toppled over is if the lip of the trash can was over his foot, which is also documented in the reconstruction report. Because of this, and in conjunction with the half-eaten food, I really do think it should be entertained as at least possible foul play. But one thing that isn't a mystery is how social media creates databases and maps of our lives, our location, our family, our interests. It's a billion-dollar industry that is now being utilized by regimes globally. There is an organization working to fix that. They are called
Palantir only
Haven
controls the
Social.
kill chain. U.S.
A new
funding is
video
not large
will be
enough to
shared
support
platform
sustained
that
military
seeks to
operations
promote
around while meeting
greater
existing
freedom of
obligations.
online privacy.
Air interceptors, for example, are
Developed by
finding quite low. If troops land on cargo,
they
need a lot more,
utilize
or their
techniques
drones
to
launch were way
minimize
too
AI
large
data
for an
scraping
air. Yeah,
and
that makes
facial
sense.
scanning, while promoting an ethical approach to social media and video sharing with transparent algorithms, better pay for creators, and a platform where you don't have to censor really basic words.
Yeah, man.
They're a small group looking to fundraise on Kickstarter. Consider pledging and helping them make a better internet possible with a link in the description and the pinned comment below. Now, this next section truly throws a wrench in this case. And a quick warning before we proceed. There is a large tuft of hair on top of a pool of blood. This was confirmed to be Suchir's hair. Why is there a large tuft of Suchir's hair in a pool of blood? To say this is abnormal at the site of a Suchir is an understatement. And yet, the next piece of evidence just continues to confuse.
An
That
old
being
sewer
Suchir's
under the
toxicology
ditch.
report. Suchir had ethanol, amphetamine, norepinephrine, and GHB in his system. We'll explain each compound. Suchir had high levels of alcohol in his system, hence the ethanol. He was also on an ADHD medication.
Because they hate our freedoms,
which
Jaw. That's
his
why we
blood
always do
levels
it,
reflected with the
right? Because
level
they
of
hate our
amphetamine
freedoms.
in his system. The levels of
And we need
norepinephrine
to
was
sustain
also
McDonald's
consistent with
franchises
common cold
worldwide.
medications. But the last compound here, GHB, is suspect.
I
You may
mean,
know GHB as
oil is
roofies.
why I'm assuming we're doing it, trading hormones, but also because
A feared drug used to sedate victims.
Netanyahu's been wanting
To find
to
this
take
substance
some
in
revenge
Suchir
on
is
Iran for
disturbing, to
a
say
couple
the
decades
least.
now.
And it doesn't take a genius to understand he very well could have been drugged. That said, he did ingest high amounts of alcohol, twice that of the legal driving
They
limit,
hate us because they hate
highlighting
us,
an
right?
intent of intoxication.
Classic line of thinking
But
there,
the
3-2.
conscious combination of alcohol and GHB before is extremely odd, particularly from someone who doesn't have a history of drug use. Sedating yourself before isn't exactly uncommon, but according to my research, the use of GHB absolutely is. Further, as stated earlier, every other substance in Suchir's system is accounted for in his apartment, but anything containing GHB is not. Further, according to the forensic pathologist report, the state Suchir would have been in would make handling a firearm exceptionally difficult. And as you will see, this fact will become much, much more important. The next piece of evidence we have to look at is the site of the gunshot, and it could be the most consequential piece. Suchir was shot in the front of the head. Yes, you heard that right. At the front of the head. Half a centimeter to the right of the midline of his lower forehead. But he wasn't just shot in the front of his head. The bullet traveled downwards at around 30 to 40 degrees and was lodged at the top of his spine, in his neck. It doesn't take an expert to realize this also makes little sense. And I wish this was the end of the oddity, but it's not. There's a second mass in Suchir's head,
Wait, what?
located here. According to two forensic and medical experts, this is a second bullet. Suchir very well.
Yeah,
could
we've
have
just
been
had the
shot
secret to
a
magic
second
bullets
time.
for decades.
Now,
The
I
CIA
say
just
could
doesn't want
have,
us to know.
Because during the forensic reconstruction,
What if he
the
just fell on
report
that bullet that
states,
way?
A radiology report indicated that a second projectile was in Balaji's head. However, given a single entry wound, a single fired cartridge case, and a single trajectory, the radiologist likely saw the second half of the bullet's jacket, which was missed by the SFME during autopsy. The crime scene reconstruction report believes this to be part of the jacket of the first bullet, which makes sense given they only recovered 96 grains out of the 115 grain bullet from Suchier, and there is no other noticeable entry wound except the forehead. Given the angle, the second bullet's path would have likely originated from the mouth. That said, the report says half the jacket. There's 19 grains of mass missing from the bullet, meaning that's only 16% of the entire first bullet. That's far, far less than half the jacket. Let's take another look. That's a relatively large mass. Big enough, it very much makes sense that a radiologist and a forensic pathologist believe it's a second bullet. Further, the bullets Suchier purchased were total metal or full metal jacket, meaning the round has a lower chance of fragmenting than a hollow point defensive bullet. Another massive issue is that the second autopsy showed Suchier had lacerations on his tongue, fractured teeth, and a fracture on the right side of his skull. How does that happen? Particularly that he was found lying supine on his back. A fall from a gunshot doesn't seem likely to produce a fracture such as this. This fact, along with the potential for a second bullet, has the ultimate potential to be the single most important piece in this case. But much of what we've covered is evidence in isolation. There's a ton of context left we've yet to explore. The moments leading up to, the processes the authorities took, and how San Francisco handled this case. According to Suchier's parents, San Francisco's chief medical examiner ruled Suchier's death immediately and has shut off every avenue of re-examining the case in light of the circumstances around his death. I think most here would agree that at the very minimum, this is a monumentally strange. Yet, it's not just you. The responding officers on the scene also thought the same.
I think it was an accident.
I think it's an accident.
Mm-hmm. The way I could be wrong, but I think it was like an accident.
Just the head? How do you accidentally do that?
It's like, wow.
Okay.
Officer Wong, the one wearing the body camera, believes, at least cautiously,
Water
this was an
pump.
accident. And you can clearly see
Radio.
the
I think
officer
she's
on
down.
camera, Officer Brachikov, is confused and doesn't seem to buy that idea. It continues.
Of the bathroom sink. Maybe you can just try. I mean, both would be urine, but
Yeah, I didn't think it was another person at all. I was thinking maybe an actual 801.
that's the thing. It's most people 801 this way.
Right.
All the ones I had, like two of them were one
It's
of
kind
them.
of awkward to do the other
Yeah,
one.
they're straight up right here.
Like right in the center.
Yes. Like he was looking down the barrel.
You can see further confusion hit Officer Brachikov the moment he learned Suchier was shot in the front of the head. Earlier, Officer Wong is working with another officer who seems confused.
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe an accident.
That's what I'm thinking. If he was unloading it.
Because if it,
One look, he's like unloading all his cancer supplies.
because if he not, then he would have been facing, most likely facing.
Sitting in a chair. Looks like he was looking in the mirror. Did that?
No.
The officer points out it's odd he would 802 in front of the mirror. There seemed to be a shared universal confusion amongst the officers. Yet, it seems nobody, the police, nor responding personnel, thought to potentially treat this as a crime scene. It's only when the medical examiners arrive is solidified as the cause of death.
Founder.
And the reasoning why is weak at best.
No.
I was Googling total for white brain battery in human skull.
Solid Snake, you
Really?
cad.
Yeah.
Probably see if he's weak on mess or not if he were to
It's
Because there was a Google search, on Suchir's computer of, quote, total gray matter volume and human brain, the medical examiner on the scene concluded it must be Suchir. Further, all ability to run prints on Suchir's Glock 17, the bullets and firearm case, has been lost, precisely because it was being handled by individuals on the scene before any forensics could run prints. The body camera footage contains more. This, in my mind, is the strangest part of all the body camera footage I've seen. It starts with this guy. Apologies in advance, I will have to blur his face as to protect his identity. This is the property manager of Suchir's
14076 is the new Holly.
and his
Okay.
demeanor is quite strange, as he's incredibly concerned about Suchir's parents getting keys
Awesome.
to
Card
his
level 4.
apartment. Here is a medical examiner and apartment manager arguing about allowing Suchir's mother entry into the apartment.
But you guys are not going to release keys or anything to the mother. I mean, I have keys right now, so you can't. But we don't want mom going in until we go in and we do hazmat. Okay. So before she's allowed access.
That's between you and her.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you'll have a conversation with her.
okay. I just want to say when we're done,
She can go in if she wants.
well, I can't lock the door first.
You can't stop. You can't stop her.
So she has the right to do whatever she wants.
She's legal next to me in this.
Okay, alright. I'm obviously going through our process on my back, and it seemed like we had documents that she needs to sign and stuff first, but
Maybe.
if
I don't know what the policy is here with you guys and people, but ours is once family is notified, let alone here on scene, there's no reason for us to safeguard anything or lock anything up or anything like that.
This body camera footage was recorded before Suchir's mother even knew he was
I suspect the
deceased.
pigeon's
She
all the way
was
at the top of
innocently
this
standing
elevator
outside
in
his
that area where I
apartment
grabbed the
for hours,
ration.
trying to figure out where her son was. Not only was the apartment manager persistently arguing with the medical examiner's policy of allowing the next of kin access to Suchir's apartment, but that she was, quote, harassing them.
she's been harassing us for the past hour or two.
This goes much further. Here is the apartment manager after figuring out police had an extra pair of keys.
They count his keys. Is that what those are? Yeah. I need the keys.
He clearly shouts, "I need the keys." Further, you cannot see as his face is blurred, but the apartment manager looks extremely nervous throughout, like completely sweating bullets. Maybe difficult to tell, but you'll have to take my word for it. We'll continue.
I guess I just don't know what that all encompasses. That's what I'm saying. Is there like a document that says you're next of kin now, you gain access to even things that are leased?
How, if you never allow rent, how would you ever clean it out?
We're gonna do hazmat cleanup.
Yeah,
and then
you can do hazmat to help her?
And then there's a contract that she has to sign for the removal of his stuff and taking over. And then she can come and get keys whenever she wants, but it has to be checked out. She can't have like her own permanent set. This is just what I'm being told. I'm not gonna fight.
She's gonna have
you guys wanted to have it.
She's gonna have her own set.
The audio cuts out for a moment, but he potentially reveals the source of his anxiety here.
I was thinking his mom, he's not married, has no children. This is all his property. It's just like the officer saying is you. I know you guys have your own standards also. We can't, we're not lawyers. We're gonna give the keys to her. You can explain this to her. You can have a conversation with her about it.
I don't have a conversation with my boss.
Do that too.
That's fine. I mean, I don't care that much. So, I mean, she seems adorable. But, like, I'm not worried about things. Okay.
And your boss,
I don't foresee seeing a problem. I have a problem with it. Like, I think she'll want to handle it whatever way she wants to, but they're just really pushing that she's not allowed to have a key. So I'm just gonna tell them. They gave it to her. Wasn't me. Okay, all right, let's go. I'll give you the office.
As seen, we know in San Francisco, denying next of kin access to property is not normal procedure, and the medical examiners were adamant of this. We currently have no idea why the property management company felt so strongly against Suchir's parents receiving access to his unit and property, particularly when Suchir's mother had no idea he was deceased. What's worse is in the body camera footage, the property manager seemed to imply that he would allow the keys to be turned over to next of kin. signaling he would go along with the medical examiner's policy. Yet, I was able to confirm he backtracked and refused to allow Suchir's family in after the authorities left. The property management company also refused to communicate with his parents unless it was through a lawyer. Further, every piece of footage you just watched was possible because Suchir's parents sued SFPD. For some unknown reason, they would not release body camera footage until legal action was taken. This is highly abnormal, and currently we have no explanation as to why they wouldn't release this footage, nor do we know why the property management company was incredibly hostile and uncooperative with Suchir's parents. But, as expected, the confusion doesn't end here. You see, Suchir's apartment was tampered with after the authorities finished. The crime scene reconstruction team noted this in their report. An additional bullet of Suchir's was missing. Food debris from Suchir's desk was found on the floor. A Gatorade bottle was found opened with mold and ants inside. And then finally, quote, I observed damage to the bathroom wall and was told that it was there during the incident. However, upon reviewing the BWC footage, the damage was not present during the incident. These changes to the scene are disturbing and required me to cross-reference my images to those of the SFME investigator and BWC footage from SFPD officers at the scene. What's also interesting is that Suchir's parents firmly believe somebody either ransacked or tampered with things in Suchir's apartment before the first responders arrived. And there's some solid reasons as to why they may think this. It starts with this. Some of you may have caught this before. The medical examiner was able to freely access Suchir's desktop with no password. This is weird, particularly from someone who works in any field in IT, such as Suchir. The next suspecting detail involves a flash drive. A flash drive was found behind and under his desk, mixed together with cables. When this flash drive was found, all the data was corrupted and unretrievable. Currently, it's unknown what exactly was on that drive. The circumstances of an unlocked computer found with relatively vague Google searches, a corrupted flash drive found behind a computer, and various items moved around. To say this is weird is an understatement. Yet, the only official person or group who has official access to Suchir's unit is the property management company. Perhaps the hazmat team carelessly moved his belongings. But why is there a missing cartridge? Why is there punctured drywall in the bathroom? Why open and tamper with a Gatorade bottle? Like nearly everything in this case, these are lingering questions without any straightforward, solid answer. But there are some things we do know. We know so much was either ignored or missed by SFPD in the medical examiner's office, and that's putting it lightly. It's beyond fair to say this case should be reopened and re-examined, which is exactly what Suchir's parents are fighting for. But there's a problem. They've been rejected. Nobody, from San Francisco's district attorneys to the state California's attorney general, to California's governor, to federal representatives, have been willing to lend a hand to a grieving family who lost their only child in incredibly suspect circumstances. And it's not a huge surprise. We can be charitable and remove the possibility of any cover-up. Even then, we can assume public officials are scared to pursue something that would potentially hurt the legitimacy of a police department that botched a case, or the PR of a corporation who is seemingly steering the entire US economy. So much so, its CEO has convinced the United States
not the alarm.
that its success isn't just financial, but existential, fueling a technological arms race with China. Like Boeing and Raytheon after World War II, it's fair to say OpenAI and their technology peers are wings of the US state. Thus, virtually the only somewhat mainstream media coverage we've seen was this.
So you had complaints from one programmer who said you guys were basically stealing people's stuff and not paying them, and then he wound up. What was that?
Also a great tragedy.
Do you think he committed?
I really do.
Have you looked?
This was like a friend of mine. This is like a guy that, not a close friend, but this is someone that worked at OpenAI for a very long time. I was really shaken by this tragedy. I spent a lot of time trying to, read everything I could, as I'm sure you and others did too, about what happened. It looks like a suicide to me.
So, what happened to Suchir Balaji? The simple, frustrating answer is we truly do not know. However, we can deduce some things. What's certain is, if this was truly it would be of extraordinary circumstances, something that I find feels less likely than the alternative, that something else happened. No one really knows what. So many things do not add up here. While we can explain some of the evidence and circumstances in isolation, when you count the sheer quantity of abnormalities, it begs the question, when does it become a pattern? I genuinely don't know that answer, but to me, at the very minimum, it seems evident we are alone in the dark about what truly happened to Suchir Balaji.
Howdy, partner. I'm also getting tired, boss, because I cannot figure out what this building wants me to do. I just got the level 4 card, and it seems to only really affect one door. I have to find a pigeon on the rooftops, but I haven't been able to find the closest place I can find that looks like an outdoor rooftop area. There was no pigeon there.
Without the support from
I guess I'm going back there to see right now because I can at least I can grab a ration while I go and fetch it.
Daryl, Dogtari, thank you for going above and beyond. For everyone else,
I've just been getting extremely black-pilled on OpenAI, and you know what? That sucks. So yeah, I can't... Oh? I have been just assuming I can't pass those things, but I think I just had a breakthrough then. Amazing.
Man, all of a sudden, I opened doors for me to do the...
Alright, gang. I'm gonna pause the next YouTube video before it starts proper. Actually, let's focus on the game for a moment here. We're gonna go to a break in a moment here because I need to swap out the battery, but I just figured out how to break those barrier things. I'm very frustrated. That kind of makes me mad. The game wasn't conveying anything about that. I still can't open these doors, but let's see. Let's see what happens. Because even at that, it doesn't really seem like I did much in... Oh, I can go to the one dude's boss room and just break barriers and run away from him instead of trying to fight him, I suppose. I'll do that when I get back from the break in a moment. I want to come out here without the alarm going off because I assume this is where I can find pigeons. I need to find a pigeon according to Holly. Because when you're on a stealth mission in what I assume is a proxy for South Africa, it's all about that pigeon hunting, baby. Oh, I can just run. Alright, well, I ain't finding no pigeons up and out here. Let's go fight the guy. Let's just go fight the dude. I like the presentation of this one more than Metal Gear 1, but I think Metal Gear 1, for the most part, I was able to track its internal logic pretty well. I feel like I've just been kind of fumbling around in the dark in the second building a whole lot this game. Like, the swamp makes sense, but it's more tedious to play. For instance. But yeah, let's go give that boss a what for real quick. Don't forget my ration. If I've ever been devoted to you, 802, please investigate more. Those corrupted drivers are normal environmental failures, but anything to do with investigation. Haha. Alright, Ja, I'll keep that in mind. Same if this broadcast stops for whatever reason. It's extremely silly because I just say things like war crimes are bad and hey buddy, don't commit genocide and maybe we shouldn't give billions to Israel. Maybe we should abolish ICE. I think these are generally normative sentiments most people hold at this point. I mean, I think we're kind of free to say that kind of shit still, in some ways. Okay, haha, alright, never mind. He doesn't know what to do with this info now. No? No? Alright, that plan failed. What do I do? Does this lead somewhere? Or is it just a death? It's just a death. Okay. So I can't just run through it. But I couldn't open anything else up on that other floor. I need to find the pigeon. Do I have to go back to building 1 with the 4 card? Maybe I have to return to building 1. Which is why the 4 card opens the front door, so I can just walk out there real simple like. Alright. And then what? I take an elevator in building 1 and I go to the rooftop there and find a pigeon? Much cereal box puzzle confusion going on here. Don't know if I'm using the right decoder ring on the right word bank. So So let's just escape. Pigeon on top of tower does make sense, Ja. Alright, we are once again trekking between two buildings, the time-honored Metal Gear tradition. There are rations in here, or is it ammo? That's ammo. What up, Mask for Mask? Happy Trans Day Visibility. Also vulnerability or something. Be vulnerable. Be legible. Be receptive and open. Don't be like Metal Gear Solid 2, which is esoteric and obtuse. It doesn't tell you what it wants you to do, but it wants you to do it anyway. It's very bratty like that. Solid Snake, more like Pouty Snake, you know? That being said, I think I go back to this first building and use the fourth card key. We will see. You will need to equip your rations on the roof to lure the pigeon. You know what? Is that why? I wonder if that's why they were giving me the rations there on the roof, Ja, in that one spot where it's always there on the rails. Is it building 1 or building 2? Oh man, I don't want to like look into a guide and spoil this shit for me, but I'm gonna be very frustrated if that's what I was supposed to do and I wasn't. Like, I'm supposed to just equip the rations and wait on that one rail where I was like, there's nothing on this rail. If so, I'm going to do that when I return from break, but for now, gang, I'm going to take a break. We're going to have to swap camera battery, we're going to have to stretch, rehydrate, smoke 'em as you got 'em. We'll be right back. See you soon, Techno Hotties. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Ja, I looked at the link you shared, and holy shit, the frustrations I'm having with I could have swore I checked the corner of the guide. Basically, gang, I have to go back and bomb a corner I could have swore I licked, so. It is frustrating how on a presentational level, graphically this one's cooler. I like the radar. I like the attempts at. Now, presentation-wise, this game's on point and an improvement over the first. I just think the first one, by being a bit more simple, kept things a bit more direct. When this one goes off rails, it goes kind of off rails in a very convoluted sense. Maybe I'm just feeling overwhelmed by it, I don't know. I felt the first game was much more geographically manageable, easy to commit to memory. The map wasn't too overwhelming. In this one, I'm like, wait, where are rooms again? But then this one has like cool little, you know, flavor text bits and cutscenes and like bosses with gimmicks I actually really, really like. It's just the connective tissue is maybe a bit more esoteric than the rest of it looks. I was considering going back to YouTube, but I kind of want to jam with the ambience of the game and chat with y'all a bit, because I read a bit of the Fort Bragg Cartel at the opening, mostly highlighting the drug dependency that service seems to normalize. I find fascinating because, I mean, people do drugs because they feel good. Part of the reason people do war crimes is, like, on a libidinal level, there seems to be a sort of impulse to feed. Which is why when it comes to, like, Palantir and AI and the sort of the making logical of war, I get really wary. Like, I want to know what's libidinal on these people, because it seems very cruel and just alien to like sanitize the concept of war or like violence without passion. Or maybe I'm just assuming some sort of romantic notion that's more problematic than I may realize in regards to violence and romance. What I'm saying is, while war is stupid, there's like a line of human understanding I can trace into like a crime of passion instigating a conflict, whereas when it's all automated and like police routine, like, what's driving that? What makes Palantir horny? Because you know they are sublimating that in some way. Just because you say you're being logical and cold, like, well, you probably have a libidinal impulse manifesting in a weird, odd... Oh, this sounds kind of Puritan or kink-shamey in a way, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. We have people who think murder gets them horny, trying to rationalize it as a not weird thing or a normal or profitable endeavor. That's what I'm getting at. I'm assuming this one-eyed man is Big Boss, and there's so many war orphans here, it's depressing. Am I just thinking of bullshit? Was it ever confirmed in the lore? Is Raiden one of these kids, by chance? Is there any popular fan theories about that? Because there seems to be a lot of war orphans around here that look up to Big Boss. I'd imagine Sniper Wolf is similar. Sheem would be one of these kids, maybe? Alright. So I saw I had to bomb that corner. I got so mad, Jaw. I didn't look at the rest of the guide, so we're back to sniffing the ground, but I assume I take these grenades and fight the dude. And then he probably drops a card. From there, we just keep on going. The loop widens and widens. Because the other way has a door I cannot make it through yet. I don't have the card key clearance. This game's making the same mistakes as the first one, essentially, except they're a bit more dissonant because of how much highly polished the rest of the game is. For it to still be fumbling with the key cards and fumbling with the bombable walls, despite looking prettier, presenting itself nicer, and having a cooler set of mechanics, it's kind of crazy. We're just going all the way up to the top, right? To fight that dude with grenades. Damn it. Don't see me. Don't see me. Josh says, yeah, I have a hard time understanding how war can get people excited. However, if you're trading for you to perform a job, I can see how a soldier could view it as justifying their career choice. Yeah, there is the 401k of it all too. Like, at what point are individuals invested beyond being able to shift gears on attitudes? Material participation in the profiteering of the thing. Alright, hopefully we can use grenades on this guy. And we're rationed up. Top viewers, Shrimbu, wow, that's how you get banned. Jari, not to mention the perceived valor is active duty during war versus defense back home. Yes. Okay, okay. Cool. I have 28 of these, you say. Grenade fight. See, like, this is cool. The Stinger fight with the helicopter was cool. Bombing a small corner of a really fucking tedious maze, not cool. The whole little Holly scene was neat. I liked that. They repurposed it into Otacon in Solid in a very effective way. That do anything special? Okay, cool. Going to the top. Mike from PA range, eh? Oh, okay. Thank you. Jury rigged? I never really investigated the phrase. Is that the pigeon? How do I get it? How do I get it? Did I disrupt its landing? This is nice. I don't want to punch it and accidentally like harm it. So I'm gonna wait here for it to come back around and land again. I'm gonna be pressing square button actually. No? What's Campbell's new thing? Shit, I should have looked it up. I don't have the package. All right, Pigeon, how do I grab you? While we wait for this pigeon, I'm going to turn down the volume on the game and fire up yet another video essay.
I'm not a good person. Ask anyone who loves me. I never write, I never call, I never think about anyone at all.
This is by Jarrett Moore, The Existential Crisis of Selling Out.
So after my first video essay went viral, another YouTuber saw it and hooked me up with his manager. And then we were having a couple conversations, and we ended up setting up a meeting with the head of their talent agency. And then we get on the Zoom call, and he's like, yeah, it's really good stuff, it's really well put together, but just to be blunt, do you want to be in the entertainment industry? Like, you seem like very critical of like advertising or any sorts of ways to make money. You know, that is like the end goal, is to ultimately get like brand sponsorships. Is that something you would do, to do like sponsored content? I go, yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on what the advertisement is. Like, I'd never do an ad for like gambling or drugs or like BetterHelp. And he goes, oh, right, yeah, we don't do that stuff either. Or like HelloFresh. I'm like, Hello, what's wrong with HelloFresh? He goes, you haven't heard about HelloFresh? No. Monkey slavery. I go, monkey slavery?
Monkey slavery.
Oh no.
So to source all the coconuts that they use in their recipes, HelloFresh was using monkey slaves in Thailand to climb the trees and harvest all the coconuts for them. And I'm like, what? Is that even an issue, though? Don't monkeys like climbing trees? He goes, not these monkeys. They're beating the fucking dog shit out of these little guys. I'm like, oh, god damn it. They're fucking beef bulgogi's delicious. Now, fuck. I guess I gotta switch to Blue Apron. But then I think, well, it is beef bulgogi. Did I think animals weren't getting hurt in this process? It's not called ground beef because you pull it out of the fucking dirt. Do I not care about cows all of a sudden? I don't know why we draw the line at monkeys. It's a weird line to draw. Like, my buddy was a vegan for a little bit. I'm a liberal. And we were on a road trip together one time, and I was eating some gummy candy and asked for a bite. So I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I give him one. And then he takes a bite of it. I'm like, wait, aren't there horse bones in those? And then he checks the ingredients on the back and then looks like horrified and throws the rest of the gummy out of the window. I'm like, dude, you're too late. Like, I don't know if he just thought it would just spontaneously turn back into a horse, like, you freed me. Like, it could not be any more dead to be processed into a nerd's rope. There's no way to salvage that at this point. I've tried being vegan for a while. Like, I do think it's the ethically right thing, but I already have the physique of, like, Christian Bale in The Machinist, so I just waste away. I don't think I could do it. And then I just compromise with myself. I think, well...
Okay, I'm just going to read what I'm supposed to do with this Boyd.
Meat or not. Like, it's not going to do anything to factory farming. Like, I believe it's wrong, but do I really believe it's wrong? Like, if you think, like, meat is murder, like, you should be, like, the eco-terrorist putting on the ski mask and, like, breaking into the pig farm to, like, free your friends. Like, I don't care that much. I care, I guess, or maybe I don't care. I don't know. If you think hard enough, you can kind of justify anything with moral relativism. You just become like a sleazy lawyer for your own impulses. It's like an alcoholic going like, well, if I relapse every week, technically it's not even a problem because now I'm just back to drinking in moderation like a regular guy. And then it goes by and you go, well, because of hybrid schedules, a lot of people work from home on Fridays. So Thursday's really the new Friday. And then it just progresses. You blacked out at Chuck E. Cheese, screaming slurs at your shadow.
I'm trying to be a better person. I think I'm kind of a hypocrite, though, because I still buy drugs on the black market, and then I shop at Whole Foods, the white market. Like, I make sure I get the cage-free eggs, but then I support the Colombian cartel. Like, I don't know your ethical business practices. Like, I have friends in Austin that do coke with a metal straw because they care about the turtles. Like shopping kids' heads. It's like the girls that do coke and then go to yoga, like my body is a temple. It's like, yeah, one of them Aztec ones sacrifice the Mexican kids. Fucking knock that up.
Like, there's always purity tests, just like, you think that Jeff Bezos is bad, and you
It's okay, we'll build that McDonald's
from
soon,
your
Jacobson, and then all the wildlife will be fucking gone.
You use your slavery box to say, maybe Amazon warehouse employees should have bathroom breaks, and they should not piss their pants.
I just had the wrong type of ration
you don't
on,
think
basically.
that your grandma should be eaten by cannibals, yet you eat bacon. It's almost like you don't think there's anything wrong with eating mammals. Okay, fucking sure, dude. Fine. I'm a hypocrite. Fuck me. I would prefer that you don't eat my grandma with a baked potato, but if I'm a hypocrite, maybe I'm worse than the cannibals. Maybe the crime of hypocrisy is worse than cannibalism when you really think about it.
And I also finally got the concept of Zen fascism. These guys have embraced like a Buddhist concept of nihilism, where it's just, look, we found ourselves by total random fact of fate to have been born at the end of this imperial moment. We have access to this incredible bounty of exploitation, of the bounties of exploitation, and we're gonna fucking use it and have fun. You're also in the same boat as us. You were born in the same situation. You have access to this same bounty. Why don't you just enjoy it? Yeah, everything's gonna die. Everyone's gonna die. Sure, it's not sustainable, but we're gonna be the last to die. So why not enjoy it? Why fight against it? And I actually finally got the point of all of that hypocrisy mongering that Republicans do, where they say, "Oh, you drive a car. Oh, you use a cell phone." It's not to try to get you in some petty hypocritical gotcha. It's to say, we're all in this together. We're all on the same side. Why don't you just enjoy it? Why are you torturing yourself? Why are you like,
oh, this is actually bad, and oh no, we're exploiting all these people?
Yeah, but that can't change it. You're in this situation. Just eat the fucking slider, drink the goddamn beer, and enjoy yourself.
Like, you just have to pick and choose your battles on what's practical. Like, everyone has a different moral line, but if you're not 100% consistent all the time, you shouldn't pretend that the line doesn't exist. Like, I was trying to avoid buying Sabra hummus because the proceeds go to the IDF. But I still pay my taxes. All that money goes to the IDF. I'm fucking buying Hellfire missiles to blow up orphanages. You know why? If I don't pay my taxes, men with guns will show up and throw me in a cage. They got played. I can't defend myself against a vampire, let alone the IRS. The IRS are scarier than vampires. I don't know. It's impossible to be perfect, but you should at least attempt to try to be better sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
It used to be unheard of for A-list actors to do commercials. Not for some sort of anti-capitalist conviction, but because you're looked down upon and it cheapened your status. Sofia Coppola's movie Lost in Translation showcases Bill Murray as an actor at the tail end of his career, flying to Japan in secrecy to do whiskey commercials for millions of dollars, where American audiences would never see them. It used to be shameful and tacky, with the consensus that it would cheapen their work. It would take you out of the movie experience if you're watching Schindler's List and one of the concentration camp guards was Flo from Progressive. But that divide has completely eroded, I think due in part to Super Bowl commercials, where they became a who's who of Hollywood, and getting one of those massive payouts helped legitimize your status as a bona fide celebrity. If all of your heroes are doing it and they're backing up a dump truck full of money to your house, you feel like missing out not to do them. The fact that celebrity endorsements are so effective that they're worth millions of dollars to these companies is depressing how dumb we are. That we're just in the store like, that's the chapstick that Mila Kunis uses. She's so pretty. Rock and punk music is really where the concept of selling out meant something. They had a message and a point of view and didn't want to taint that with any sort of business relationship outside of I make the records, the fan buys the records. That was a lot easier to maintain before MTV, Napster, and finally streaming made it so fans don't typically own physical copies of their favorite band's music. They either listen to it for free with advertisements, or they have a subscription that gives fractions of pennies back to the artists. So the philosophy was tweaked to make it more practical in the new consumer landscape. So in the early 2000s, there's this musician, Saul Williams, who was like a radically outspoken human rights activist like Black Panther adjacent, and Nike reached out to use the song List of Demands in one of their commercials. You know the one is like,
I want my money back. Come down and drown me in your fat. I'm playing on your knees and everything you like. I'm not afraid of you. I'm just a victim of your fears. I got a list of demands written on the palm of my hand.
So then there was a lot of discourse on whether he was selling out by working with them. It's like, everything you say you're going to turn around and work with this group that uses child slavery in sweatshops.
It's like, I guess on one hand, maybe it would have struck me differently if I had been asked to write a song for Nike, you know?
Yeah.
But for them to come to me 4 years after a song was written and say, we want to put this in a commercial, you know? Me, I felt like they were doing a commercial for me more than they were for themselves. I don't know how many people watch Nike commercials and go, I want to go buy the Nike, but I know that people hear a song and go, what is that song? Yeah, for sure. You know, and I know I'm very certain of the energy that I place into my music. And I don't believe, you know, like I've been doing a dance with the so-called powers that be from the time I put out my first album, Slam, my first movie, Slam, which came out through Trimark, which was, you know, a big corporation, or my first album, which came out through Sony, which was a big corporation. So maintaining my independence as an artist has you know, doesn't always have to mean that I'm not working with major companies. All of my books come out through MTV, for example.
What's wrong with getting paid too, right?
Yeah, well, there's that. There's nothing wrong with getting paid, but there's also something important about getting that work out there.
Yeah. Funny, because Nas, I actually said something to Nas about this, and I was like, this is interesting. Nike just asked me, I was like, is that selling out? He's like, that's not selling out, son. That's buying in. And I realized it wasn't me buying it. It was then the question, you know, then becomes, you know, well, how is it that we, you know, who pride ourselves on being rebels and being revolutionaries, you know, how do we, you know, postulate ourselves in this age? Do we define ourselves according to what we say no to, or by the passion
with which we say yes. When, you know, the paradigm shift occurs, there are certain things like, you're not going to stop Nike from making shoes, but you can make them more responsible.
Yeah, best of luck to her, well, howdy.
Right? And how they make them and how they pay fair wages. Because I went to the Nike campus in Beaverton, Oregon last week, and was like, oh shit, y'all ain't even close to running out of money. I should have asked you. But seriously, you know, it's like, as I sat with the head of global marketing, the global director of Nike, and had the opportunity to say, so what are you guys doing about sweatshirts? If I said no, the conversation would have never occurred. And all of a sudden, I opened doors for me to do to actually make a shift from the stuff that I'm on the sidewalk screaming about, to actually, you know, maybe get on some vinyl shit. Like, let's set up a meeting.
I'm sure you've had the experience of watching television and snapping to attention when you hear a familiar song by one of your favorite Small of Fame bands as the backdrop for an automobile commercial. Perhaps you've thought to yourself, that is so fucking weak. What a bunch of sellouts. I hate their guts! I get letters from people expressing their outrage that they heard the music of the Stooges, the Ramones, the Buzzcocks, or the Fall in an ad, and I understand their anger and sense of loss as they figure yet another one of their well-kept secrets has just become part of the corporate structure, and the band is nothing more than the lapdogs of the man, the very man they were supposed to be sticking it to in every waking moment. These bands are not being co-opted or selling out at all. Selling out is when you make the record you're told to make instead of the one you want to make. I wonder if it ever occurred to these people that the reason the music of these interesting and alternative bands is being recruited is because their fans are now the ones calling the shots. In other words, we have arrived. Of course the ad is trying to sell you something, and by using a band you like, attempting to gain your confidence by exploiting the band's integrity for a commercial end. So what? You're not a fucking moron, are ya? You see through that, don't ya? What would you rather hear? Iggy and the Teddy Bears doing I'm a punk rocker in a car ad, or enduring some generic background music? I thought so. Do you have any idea what some of these bands went through to make that music? The fact that there might be some money for them all these years later is great. You think that paycheck is in any way a slight to their integrity? Are you fucking kidding me? Pay them. Pay them double. Pay them now. It's about fucking time.
Like, you know, that's like when people like sell out. You know, there's a famous like video of Bill Hicks like screaming about Jay Leno selling out. It's so ridiculous because Jay Leno did a Cheetos commercial.
Doritos.
Doritos.
Yeah, he did Doritos.
We got a little office bit going on. I'm wondering which guest it's going to be when Jay finally takes a pistol out of his jacket, puts it in his mouth, and blows his Dorito shilling head off his mouth. Dear God, what have I done with my life? His brain spew out, forming an NBC peacock on the wall behind him. Because he's a company man to the bitter fucking end.
Yeah, when's the last time you saw Bill Hicks or anyone talk about Jay Leno?
Here's the deal. I'm drawing a line in the sand like Colonel Fannin did at the Alamo. You're with me or you're not. If you do a commercial, you're off the artistic roll call forever. Case fucking fuck.
The idea of an artistic roll call, that there's like a cultural mass that you can
whatever that means. I mean,
well, we'll see what the essay gets into. This does get into some ideas I have about why boomers think art and protest and symbolic sort of culture war stuff is as powerful as it is.
Unless you just sit in your home and create art for yourself.
Well, I think selling out is violating your personal belief system for some type of gain, financial gain or power gain or whatever it is. But if Leno
But what was Leno's act that he was...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If he didn't have a particular, like, boy, I really hate Doritos. Doritos are going to give me some money.
Right.
So I better rethink that,
Of
Like,
course.
he probably was neutral on Doritos, and someone said, hey, here's $1 million. Well,
Exactly.
sure, why not?
John Mulaney getting out of rehab and doing an ad for non-alcoholic beer, and Bert Kreischer having his own line of vodka as the party guy makes sense. That's in line with the work that they're putting out. If they reversed it and Mulaney started hawking liquor immediately after doing this emotional special about sobriety, it'd feel a bit odd. Casey Anthony shouldn't collaborate with Pampers. Partnering with corporations shouldn't be taken lightly and can jeopardize the trust and relationship you've built up with your audience over the years.
News today as beloved Pootie Tang has agreed to endorse several controversial products for Lecter Corp, the infamous giant corporation.
Yo, fellas, something on TV about Pootie Tang.
Like even my kids, man, my kids looked up to him, man. Know what I mean? And they don't even look at dad like they look at him. But now, since he crossed, man, my little man came up to me the other day and was like, man, how could he do that bullshit, man? That.
Pootie Tang has made my children cry. I'll not support him anymore.
Actually, speaking of sponsors...
The red card, eh?
Look at your camera.
What?
You gotta read the sponsor.
I'm not fucking reading that. Are you kidding me? Is this a joke?
Nope.
This was actually brought up. So in front of me is a fucking ad, and my audience asked me, they go, are you going to have to read Gavin's ad? And I said, oh yeah, I'm also going to eat men's boogers while fucking taking it all up to the face. I will not read this fucking ad. If you want to come in here and read it for me, you can. But I can't, I don't know Deep Discount. I don't work for them, and they don't pay me. So I can't endorse them. Absolutely not.
Yeah, but you're doing the job for Gavin. So if Gavin said, dude, you made me lose a sponsor.
You didn't bring this up.
No,
he needs to
yourself.
pay me for doing this.
I would completely
I had to buy
understand
my own goddamn plane ticket.
Hold
This
on.
ad will not be read under
A
my
red
watch.
card replaces 1 through 3. Okay, I do like that. Damn it, I wish they
It
did.
ain't happening.
Okay.
I would rather give
Okay.
the entire opportunity. I will not read that ad. But you could come in and read the ad.
Look at Aaron. Aaron's like, are you fucking kidding me? Look at her.
She's kidding.
No, she's not kidding.
Can't he do it?
Yes.
There, he could do it. There.
I don't believe in deepdiscount.com. I have a personal aversion to the
Do it.
company. I don't like the company, but he's got to read it. It's his job.
You're getting paid here, not me.
I'll read. You want to read it?
Yeah, have him read it.
Look, Aaron's. Look at her face. She's so serious right now.
I'm sure they're a great company. I don't know anything about them, so I can't say they're great. It would be a lie.
Guys, deepdiscount.com.
He was 100% vindicated for this stance. If you look at the reviews for Deep Discount, 1.5 stars, 2 stars, awful condition. Ordered them via Walmart, and they canceled the order after it arrived. Horrible return policy. Never buying again. Oh, happy customer, look at that. Horrible packaging and customer support. Terrible customer service.
Okay, that'll take me to the next building, but I don't want to go there right now.
By far the worst shipping website ever. Deep Discount should be called Deep Disappointment. You're talking to a group of people that have supported you and funded your career. You should have some obligation not to screw them over for a quick buck. But doing advertisements in general, like is Shane Gillis a sellout for all of the brand deals that he has? I don't think so. Like, since he was an open micer living on an air mattress in Philly, he's like, I like Bud Light and Notre Dame football. And then he got so good at comedy that his favorite beer and football team liked him back and pay him to drink at their games. Dude, fuck a white picket fence. That's the American dream. And he had many opportunities to sell out. After he got canceled from SNL, he could have gone either way in the culture war. Like, he could have done the full aggrieved white man hustle that was like, you know what, actually, we're the real victims of racism, if you think about it. I think he was even offered a job at InfoWars that he said no to. And then he could have gone the other way as well and just did the self-flagellating white pussy liberal move and was like, yeah, I'm actually literally the devil for thinking that saying neuters instead of noodles is funny. I will be checking myself into a re-education camp that Chinese voice is not maybe a little funny sometimes. When the Bud Light controversy happened, he could have jumped in on that dog pile, but he's like, no, it's actually gayer than gay sex to care this much that Bud Light sent one trans person a beer with their face on it. You are gay. When he was in negotiations for the show Tires, they initially didn't want to have his friend McKeever directing it, and then he refused and said he wouldn't do it with anyone else, and he brought all of his friends along with him and made like 10 of his friends millionaires. He's the counterexample to the false dichotomy that you have to choose between getting money or having integrity.
Job by
and
Honey,
doing
you
things
talking
the way
about
you
the
wanna do 'em.
discount app or
It's fucking rare.
the app that gets you
Literally, I can't
deals and
think of
savings
anyone
and
else,
such?
But he did it, so, you know, it's possible. If you're in your 20s and listen to podcasts, advertisers do not think very highly of you.
Yep.
They're like, hey, are you a depressed gambling addict on drugs whose dick doesn't work? I'm like, all right, well, 3 out of 4, lucky guess. So the reason I don't want to do ads for gambling is because I'm very bad at it.
Interesting, this
My whole
door.
family gambles. We used to take family vacations to Biloxi, Mississippi to go to casinos when I was like 6. So I have the bug. One time my friend came to town, and he'd never been to a casino before, so I took him to the Hard Rock. And then we
Hell
won a couple
yeah,
$100
body
playing roulette.
armor.
And then on the way out, we passed by the Baccarat tables. And I go, you know what? You found me at a very Chinese point in my life. The guy with all the face tattoos on TikTok said this was the best game at the casino. So I sit down, immediately lose $200. I'm like, God fucking damn it. Okay, we're getting out of here. So then we walk by, we're getting closer to the door, and we see the blackjack table. And my friend's like, you know what? I don't even know how to play blackjack. I'm like, all right, well, I'll show you. Here. So the goal of the game is you want to get as close to 20... Fuck! Just immediately lose another $100. I'm tilted. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. We're going back to the roulette tables where this all started, getting money out of the ATM, double or nothing, everything I lost on black. Green. Green? Fuck!
I've already gone through everything up here, yeah.
And then I turn to my friend and I go, anyway, so that's gambling. It's pretty fun, right? So I lost like $600, which was a sizable portion of my net worth. And then I go home to my wife and I'm like, babe, you're not gonna believe it. I lost $100. So my grandpa buys hundreds of lottery tickets a week. His basement is just full of cardboard boxes filled to the brim with scratchy lottery tickets. And there's this one convenience store I used to buy him at all the time, and the owner's daughter would always be there hanging out coloring, and he felt bad she had to hang out in the convenience store all day, so he used to bring her toys and stuff when he would go in. And one day he was taking me and my brother to an arcade when we were younger, so he stopped inside and was like, hey, does she want to come with us? And then the owner barely spoke English. He's like, what? So he started trying to pantomime, like, her come with us, skee ball? And she goes, okay. And he doesn't know this lady outside of the context of how many lottery tickets he buys, but she just comes with us. So from the outside perspective, he just goes in for a sweet tea and scratchy lottery tickets and comes out with a Chinese baby. So then we take her to the arcade. She doesn't say anything the entire time. She's just fucking tearing it up at Dance Dance Revolution, dropping skee balls from the corner into the 5,000 slot, just printing tickets. So then we take her home with her giant stuffed monkey, and my grandpa just buys more scratchy lottery tickets. It's like in Skyrim when you max out the relationship meter with the merchants. He gambled so much that they just entrusted him with a child. They're like, you know what? He's been such a good customer. If he doesn't bring her back, I think it's honestly a wash. He never went broke because boomers used to have this thing called a pension. So they could buy a 4-bedroom house for $15,000, and then their old job just keeps paying them for the rest of their life so they could buy more scratchy lottery tickets and commemorative 9/11 gold coins.
Wow.
You do not have a pension. You will become homeless.
Mythology.
Congratulations to the winners.
Oh yeah, feels good to be fucking back, my friends. Oh my god, that's fucking it, people. Oh no. I'm so sorry, Gabe. You probably feel like such an idiot giving that to me, dude. I'm so sorry, bro. I am such a fucking moron, dude. I am such a fucking moron. Oh my fucking god, dude. I am bleeding. Oh my fucking god, dude.
Why? Why?
Oh my god!
The DraftKings ads don't show that side of it. They'll have Kevin Hart chest-bumping Gronk at a Super Bowl party, but don't show you getting kicked out of the house because you stole money from your mom's purse to bet the over on the Ravens. The gambling epidemic goes hand in hand with the general hopelessness for people my age. You're living paycheck to paycheck, barely anything goes into savings. You won't be able to make a down payment on a house anyway, so you might as well start throwing Hail Marys, making prop bets on FanDuel, in the hopes that if it hits, you'll be able to take your car to a mechanic this month. Gambling is being infused into every aspect of American life. On ESPN, they're partnering with FanDuel for the picks of the week. CNN has partnered with the prediction market Kalshi that lets you gamble on anything from the outcome of the P. Diddy trial to the death toll of a tsunami in Thailand. Banking apps like Covered are integrating games of chance to let you play double or nothing on credit card debt that you can't afford. The immediate access is the scary part. It's too easy to set up a string of parlays on your phone in between gooning. One advertisement you might have heard on podcasts recently is for a drug called kratom. It's a plant from Thailand you can brew into a tea that feels like a stimulant at lower doses and acts on your opioid receptors at higher doses for the opposite effect. The closest thing you can compare it to is taking half a Percocet in a Red Bull. And I can't really market that as being non-addictive, because I'm addicted to it. So when I first started doing comedy, I had horrible stage fright. Before every show, I would throw up in the alley outside of the open mic. I was just a nervous wreck. I was like 19 and in a new city. And my buddy would go with me to shows sometimes, and he just had a shoulder surgery, so he got prescribed a bottle of Percocet, and he didn't want to take them, so I offered to buy the bottle off of him so I could just manage the stage fright. And it worked, but I didn't want to get carried away, so I made a deal with myself. I'm like, okay, I'm only going to take it before I do comedy. And that's how I got addicted to stand-up comedy. So I was just high on Percocet for like the first 3 months I was doing stand-up, and people would be like, hey, you're kind of doing Mitch Hedberg. And one, I totally was ripping him off.
I used to be a lifeguard over the summer, and instead of wearing a regular whistle around my neck, I wore a slide whistle. That way if somebody drowns, starts to sink to the bottom, I can make the noise.
But two, that's also just kind of what people sound like when they're on opiates. You're so relaxed, you just turn into a jazz musician.
When I was a boy, I laid in my twin-size bed, wondering where my brother was.
Then once I ran out, I never got more, but I started doing shows at Kratom bars, and I'd never heard of them, but they'd offer you a free drink, and it kind of did the same thing for alleviating the stage fright. And I love that too. You know you love it when you start making rules with yourself. I'm like, okay, I don't want to take it 2 days in a row because I don't want to develop a dependency for it. But then something stressful happens and you want to take it to calm down, or you need to focus on something, so you take it to lock in. And then you just Pavlovian train yourself that anytime something bad happens or anytime you need to focus, you need to take it, and you feel like you're drowning if you don't have it. So I've ended up doing it pretty much every day for the last 6 years. Like, it's fine. It's still a gas station drug. You don't need to steal catalytic converters for it. It's super cheap, and you know, you're not really fucked up or anything. But it is habit forming. If I stop without tapering down, will I thrash around in my sleep all night and sweat through my sheets? Yeah, sure, a little bit. Okay, maybe it's a drug. And the problem is it's sold as a sober alternative in a lot of the marketing material for it. So people that used to be junkies will end up taking it thinking they found a loophole and then start abusing it just like they used to with hard drugs. The 7-OH extracts and concentrates are where people start to have problems. It's significantly stronger and more equivalent to morphine. This is how it ended up for comedian and former heroin addict Jason Ellis when he started to take a drug ironically called Feel Free.
I believe from the start I was offered a sponsorship deal, so it was like money, and then if I did a promo code I would receive some money on every individual bottle that was sold with using my promo code. So I was looking for something to do to take the edge off, and then when I did this shot it kind of loosened me up a little bit. It made drunk people and people that drank around me more tolerable, and then that's right when I got into comedy. So late nights
Picked up
I
a
would
mouse.
do another shot
Okay.
before I'd go on stage, and it was almost like it kind of loosened me up, and that would kind of give me a little bit of a buzz, and there would be this feeling of like, not all the time, but sometimes I'd go, oh, it's working. Like it's like a painkiller. Like I'm high. And I'm not, as far as I know, doing anything bad. I tried, and it was really hard, and it's funny, it's just like addiction. Like, I got off, and it was a couple of days of hell, and I slowly got back on it again, secretly, to the people that I already confessed that I was addicted to, and they helped me get off it, and then I secretly started doing them again, like a junkie. He's like, it's not gonna be easy, but you can white knuckle it. The second day of not doing it was when I was like, okay, you've got to be joking me. This is like really bad. I am freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
But you know, the third day, my manager was watching me, and I was in a head to toe, like sweatpants, with a blanket and with the house on it, with the heater on, freezing cold and sweating. And I was like, I feel like I'm seizing up. And I was rocking back and forth, And I was like, I've got to turn the jacuzzi on. If I go, my arms are coming in and I'm locking up. If I go into the jacuzzi, it'll like defrost me. I had like some theory, you know? And I was like, I've just got to get to the jacuzzi. And I couldn't get up. And I was like, get up, you know what I mean? Like, do it. And I start to get up, I start to walk, and my legs don't want to move. I get outside, I get to the jacuzzi, and I can't move anymore, and I can't put my hands out. So when I went to crouch down, I just fell over, and I couldn't even put my hands out. I just landed on my side, and I was like 6 feet away from the jacuzzi, and it was like a in-ground one.
Yeah.
And I was next on the red bricks, and I was just rocking back and forth. And my manager was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." She's like, "You don't look okay." I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm okay." And I'm in a trance because it's been 3 days. I don't want to eat. I think if I just do one, it'll help me. But I know that if I do one, then this feeling is gonna be one more day. And I just keep thinking like one more day and I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be okay. And it got to the point where I started to feel like I was gonna have like a seizure, and I couldn't stop shaking. I was like, really stop shaking, and I couldn't stop it. So I hit my own head. I'll never forget it. I hit my own head on the concrete to stun myself.
Intentionally?
Yeah, because I thought that if I stunned myself, it would kind of stop the seizure from happening. And I was right. I hit my head and I kind of like fuzzed myself out, and that's when my manager was like, "Jason, like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?" And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I even said anything. I was just like, I'm helping myself.
It works for some people, like the non-extract plant version has been good for people that need pain relief and don't want to get on pills, or people that can just take it recreationally. I basically microdose it as an anti-anxiety
I've used
medicine.
kratom from time to
But I don't know
time
you. There's people that
after
can take it
intense
recreationally,
workouts for
and
pain
there's people
relief,
that
but
can't. And I would hate for an
in
18-year-old
pill
that just thought
form.
my videos were funny.
Also, I've
to
gotten
start
it from
taking
like
and have the same
a
experience
supplement
as
shop.
Jason,
I've seen it in gas
just so I can get
stations
$2
and smoke shops, and it looks very
so those
different.
Are the lines that I have
is
right
how
now.
I'll
There
put
might
it.
be some company that I wouldn't mind working with. Like my wife really likes Bombas running socks, but they're like $50 for a 3-pack, so I could really use some free ones. Bombas, please send size 7 women's running socks. DM me on Instagram. Bombas. I don't think they use slaves. And some people might think that's selling out, but there's not really clearly defined rules. So I'm going to try to establish some. I think there's 4 distinct categories.
Night vision goggles,
You have
nice.
scammers, shills, grifters, and sellouts. Scammers are the characters that CoffeeZilla investigates. They just take their existing fan base and then find a way to directly extract money from them through nefarious plots and schemes. From Logan Paul's Crypto Zoo, to Andrew Tate's Hustlers University pyramid scheme, to Whistling Diesel's day trading saga. Some of them might not even know that they're running a scam. To save her life, I do not believe that Haley Welch would be able to define what blockchain is. She just got in way over her head and didn't have anyone to do due diligence around her
Horsebone
to tell her
gummy.
not to get into crypto schemes. And you may be inclined to say that the audience have to take some personal responsibility. It's a little hard to feel bad for a grown man going, "I cannot believe that Haktua has betrayed me. I put all my life savings into Mommy Melker's coin, and now my kids are gonna starve. I trusted you as a financial advisor." Random lady who talked about giving sloppy head in a TikTok one time. And then you go.
Yeah, the
around
credit
and do
I
a
got was
rug
from a
pull
trusted
on all my shares of dog
gym.
fart. It's gonna be a cold
Basically.
Christmas in the streets because of you. But that's
I
likely
did
part of
get
their
one from a
strategy
smoke shop once
to
that just made me
shroud
sweat and
legitimate investment
puke, and I was like, what the
around
fuck was
silly
that?
memes and trends to make it seem like it's no big deal. You just need to be careful. Influencers do not get rich by making you rich. You will be the mark. This segment I'm going to keep brief because CoffeeZilla already does such a good job covering them. I recommend sharing his videos with any of your family members. Since Doge got rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CoffeeZilla is the only thing standing in between your grandpa, horny singles in his area, Nigerian princes, and Donald Trump Jr.
Thank you, CoffeeZilla.
Next, we have shills. A shill goes hand in hand with a scammer. Back in the days of the carnival, a rigged game would never get any participants if everybody thought it was impossible to win. So the scammer would bring in an accomplice called the shill. They'd blend into the crowd and start playing the game as if they're a regular customer.
I'm always a little
and go on
hesitant to use the word shill because it feels like it has a bit of like an ethnic slur sort of connotation to it, but I don't know the actual history or etymology of the
to put their
word.
money down and get cheated. At the end of the day, the shill and the scammer would split the money.
It just feels a bit mean in that way.
Third party was in on the operation the whole time. A shill playing 3-card Monty can really only trick a couple dozen people a day. If they want to join the big leagues, they need to branch out into the world of political commentary. It was recently uncovered that prominent progressive influencers received up to $8,000 a month from something called the Chorus Creator Incubator Program.
If you're the woke ginger, you get $1,500 to say bad things about Kat Abighazali
group for unaccountable political spending. According to copies of the creator's contract, they're forbidden from disclosing the identity of any funder and gave Chorus the ability to force creators to remove or correct content based solely on the organization's discretion if that content was made at a Chorus-organized event. Creators told Wired that the contract stipulated that they'd be kicked out and essentially cut off financially if they even so much as acknowledged that they're a part of the program. Chorus provided personal mentoring, guest bookings from prominent figures in politics, helping creators with thumbnails and algorithm optimization, and daily briefings on what trending topics they recommended covering. This is a service you typically pay a professional for, rather than them paying you. So what are they getting in return? Controlled opposition. They amplified the voices of milquetoast centrist establishment Democrats to #resist the administration. But not too hard that it spills over the containment walls and starts to inconvenience the billionaire donor class and their interests. While they deny explicitly telling creators what they can and can't post, the recipients of this program are chosen because they're already loyalists and want to keep them on a leash from advocating for anything that goes against the party line. They know where their bread is buttered. When you know why you're getting $100,000 a year, you don't have to be told which lines not to cross.
That seems really dark. No, it's not dark. You're misunderstanding me, bro.
I think I am.
Yeah, you are. Because if the girl said no, then the answer obviously is no.
No.
But the thing is she's not gonna say no. She would never say no because of the implication.
They astroturfed Gen Z content creators to make it look like the DNC was still in touch with the youth of America and didn't need to entertain the demands of their actual constituents. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. If I want to work with
Southeast
another
side?
politician,
Alright.
I have to fully collaborate with them, said one creator who was offered the contract but ultimately declined to take it and asked not to be named. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give that to them. Creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance and in writing, per the contract. Some creators also discussed a clause
Yeah, 3-2. That's what I
disparagement of
suspected
other
about the
creators.
gas station ones in
The co-founder
general,
of
because they
Chorus,
seem to have
Brian
like
Tyler
mixtures
Cohen,
of stuff. It's very
responded
like
to the
chunky
article by
pills.
saying, "Nuh-uh.
Debunked.
I verified that Wired is yet to be sued or issue a retraction for anything printed in this article, so I'm going to assume the legitimacy of the
They're
sources
goosed.
and documents reviewed by the journalists and their legal team. Having an editor is fine if you disclose that you're working for someone. If you're a vice journalist, you're publicly operating as an employee of the company and making content that's in line with the tone of their publication. The issue is transparency. If you're taking donations from people who are under the impression you're an
Soldier
independent
mannequins.
content
Am I about to
creator,
fight a
you're
boss?
tricking
Am I
those
about to
people
fight
who
like a
think they're
doll
paying to
man?
receive your personal perspective.
I feel
You're
this
going
is
from being
leading
a thought
towards
leader
that kind
to
of a set
mouthpiece.
piece.
It'd be like when they say 4 out of 5 dentists recommend a certain toothpaste, and then you find out the 5th dentist was being paid by Galaxy Gas to say, who needs fucking teeth when you're high on nitrous?
This is pretty cool.
Whether or not they agreed wholeheartedly with Chorus's positions, letting them designate certain politicians and content creators as off limits from criticism disqualifies you from being an independent political commentator. The partisan shill would be like a carnival attendee screaming from the mountaintops that the ring toss is rigged and can't be trusted, but then are getting paid by the 3-card Monty guy to say that they have your best interest at heart and would never take advantage of you. The third category is grifters. If you ask the internet what a grifter is, it will mostly be defined as anybody that I disagree with. What I think the definition of a grifter is somebody that has an inverted source of motivation. You're not making the thing that you want to make and then putting it out there and finding a sense of community around it. first you're identifying a community and then making a product you think will appeal to them. I think there's two different subcategories of grifter. There's the tribalized grifter and then the generalized. The North American tribalized grifter is an elusive beast belonging to the chameleon family.
The chameleon is a truly bizarre creature, both in its behavior and its appearance.
Frozen
unlike anything
rations,
else
nice.
on Earth. So not surprisingly, it's given rise to all kinds of legends and myths.
Despite the devastating loss of Charlie Kirk, my incredible husband at UVU, Caleb has persisted with the same gift. Trust me, you're not a grifter, honey. It's all good.
That's Ann Coulter.
She crazy as hell, ain't she? But she good people, though. She good people. She just do that to get that redneck money.
So are you even a Republican?
Hell no. You think I like going out there and saying this ridiculous shit?
So then why do it?
Because a bitch got books to sell, that's why. Ain't no money in trying to save the world. We need Ann in makeup.
When I first came face to
And
face
culture on the
with chameleon more than
Boondocks.
50 years ago, I was struck not only by its beauty, but intrigued by its strange body, particularly by its tongue.
Simply trying to suggest that there might be an alternative to corporate hegemony, that there might be an alternative to our governments bending over for the benefit
What was the
of big
grift, Ja?
corporations.
You don't have to get specific. I'm curious what the general pitch or pyramid scheme was.
I don't trust politicians. No one does. I don't trust the corporations in this country that you inadvertently work for every time you take this line with me.
It was a creature sent to the world to spy for a demon master.
Peter Thiel is an investor in Rumble, so whenever I'm talking about Peter Thiel, I think, well, I can't say anything that's going to ruin my potential income. So that's a level of power that's pretty extraordinary. Here's some things that I know off the top of my head about Peter Thiel. He's a Christian. He was influential in J.D. Vance coming to Christ.
Would you close in prayer?
Oh, yeah, all right.
Oh. I call on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, our Heavenly Savior. Lord, I humbly in this great congregation in Phoenix, Arizona, with my host, Tucker Carlson, in deference to him, but in ultimate deference to you, our Lord and Savior, to whom we are all your younger siblings and your children. I pray in your name that the forthcoming election be an opportunity for unity for America.
I can't collapse my love and devotion to Christ Jesus into support of one or any political party. I know that Turning Point's here to advocate primarily for Republicanism. I'm not suggesting they change what they're doing. They're a brilliant organisation.
This Bentley that I parked in the church is not just for me. It's for the church. It's for us.
Can we drive it?
No.
They've learned to adapt their appearance as a defense mechanism to impending poverty or cultural irrelevance. Usually after somebody flounders in traditional media, they'll say, you know what I just remembered I love at the age of 52? America. Freedom. Specifically from the justice system once all those women come forward. But also just in general, I've grown to love bald eagles, and I pray that they save me once that article comes out about all that evil shit that I did. The newest one I've discovered is the ShamWow guy, who everybody remembers from beating up that hooker with his signature slap-chop finishing move. He's decided to move to Austin at the spry age of 61 and start making anti-woke YouTube sketches. Alright, so I can't play the audio of this because it technically classifies as music, but a little bit of director's commentary. Do you see the guy in the police officer's uniform? That's my buddy Captain. Dude, I saw this, it felt like seeing my daughter on the front page of Pornhub. I'm like, brother, what are you doing? He goes, listen, he paid me $400 for 30 minutes of work. I would have shot somebody if he handed me a gun. I don't give a shit. He's a little late to the party, but honestly, if he dropped this in 2015, he could have a cabinet position in the White House by now. And look at that, he's running for Congress. I don't think being partisan or having an ideology necessarily makes you a grifter, especially if politics have always been your thing. It's when people use it as a crutch for a lack of talent or reputation. That way the audience treats you with kid gloves because you're one of them. It's very convenient to categorize yourself in a culture war. That way any criticism you get, you can say, well, that's the other side for you. They're so full of hate. They hate all of us. If you let them get me, you're gonna be next. That way you never have to come to grips with the fact that some people personally think that you fucking suck as an individual. Everything has to be this cosmic battle of good versus evil to protect their egos. 38-year-old pickup artist Tyler Fisher has perfected the art of the deflection. When a Delta flight attendant was unfortunate enough to be caught wearing a pride pin on their uniform while working Tyler's flight, he posted a picture of them to Twitter and tagged their boss demanding answers for how their employee was allowed to make him think gay thoughts, and that if nothing was done, he would have
Good
to
at
find
weaponizing the legal code, had no clue how to implement what he sold to businesses.
Banned for doxing our employee. He claimed that this was cancel culture and violated the First Amendment, despite literally trying to get someone fired for their First Amendment right to express themselves. Dozens of flight attendants made videos in support of their colleague on TikTok, joking about Fisher being a short bitch.
Delta said you have to be this tall to fly. Looks like you didn't cut it. Insulting my physical form? Delta, are you going to fire her? If she's one of your flight attendants, will you fire her for the same reason you banned me?
He again tattled to their employer to try to get them fired, somehow in his mind thinking he was on the side of free speech.
What a truly tantalizing tidbit of Tyler Tattletale technology.
He became a regular panel guest on Fox News' Gutfeld after gaining notoriety for saying he was discriminated against as a Caucasian American in the entertainment industry. In a Shakespearean betrayal, he was then discriminated against by Fox News itself and was blacklisted for making any appearances on the network. He dropped the bombshell that the reason was that Fox News had gone woke. And what was my crime? My woke crime?
What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
I asked an employee out for
That has
coffee.
become a part of the National Archive in Australia, of like their film TV media archive of important works or culturally relevant documents.
That she had his number.
A succulent meal is one of them now.
Now notice the words. These are woke words. Forced. They're almost making it sound like I raped her phone or something.
The Fox News employee contacted security personnel over the incident, and Fisher was escorted off the floor.
And you, sir, are you waiting to receive my limp penis? Now, get your hand.
Not only has Fox been serving as a secret feminist Antifa outpost the entire time, but the iceberg goes deeper. He then received a cease and desist letter and was asked to stop performing at Joe Rogan's comedy mothership in Austin due to slews of complaints on the T-App, a platform designed for women to warn each other about men in their area.
I'm kicked out of that club. It's the woke mind virus. There's no other way to say it. Not only banned, a cease and desist order. I have a 45-minute HR conversation from the woke manager of the comedy club. So on the call, this guy says, "You're aware that this T-App, you're a problem. You understand you're a problem with women."
You see, this is how crazy
the woke
made Gotham.
I'm beyond jaded, so it's like, I'll suck your feet, sit on my face, and then get out.
Look at that one.
Uh-oh.
46 red flags. He actually had this comedian had the most red flags in Austin, out of comic or not, out of anybody.
Uh-oh.
That sounds so cringy, Ja. Like name-dropping a hacking group.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein knew how to connect a computer to the internet and edit a PDF without calling the millennial, and so people thought he was a genius.
The woke cabal had managed to infiltrate every single establishment on Earth to try and stop a middling impressionist from failing to get pussy. Then there are the general grifters, the people that believe in nothing, the AI sloppists, the brain rotters. The whole thing is just a pretext of views for the sake of views. An insight into the mind of the people that make this stuff can be found on the subreddits r/newtubers and r/partnered YouTube, where people are trying to find different hacks and shortcuts to go viral. They're seldom concerned on how to improve at their actual craft. They just spend their time dissecting the algorithm the way an MIT graduate would find a way to beat the casino. You can see posts such as, "I'm noticing popular YouTubers have pets. I don't know how much it matters. Most of the popular ones have a pet, the ones with a community. I'm wondering if it helps. The biggest lie is you have to use your own content. My video is getting a lot of hate. Will this hurt my channel? No, It's actually great so many people are interacting with your videos. It will definitely help your channel.
3-2 I missed
Now,
as
can some
well.
viewers say
I'm
that
getting
they'll never
sucked
watch you
into
again? Sure.
this elaborate
But currently, they're
melodrama.
watching enough to help your channel's numbers. Are slimes a dead trend? Until a few years ago, from around 2017 to 2020, slime videos were everywhere on YouTube. Satisfying
Damn it,
sounds,
I
bright
skipped that
colors,
dialogue.
hands that squeeze and mold. A real phenomenon. Slime has become an established niche. Viral content and active creators still appear,
Frank Hunter.
but it no longer dominates the
Frank
platform like
Yeager?
it used to. Trends today are fragmented into micro-niches and are discovered through recommendations and shorts. So what replaced slime depends on the audience. ASMR, cozy lo-fi, restocks and cleaning. AI slop changed my life. I keep seeing users berating others if there's a hint of AI being used to create YouTube content. What's the deal? Is it the moral compass talking? Or is it the fact that because you are working hard on content and not seeing results, you don't want others to be successful because they're
Iran war.
using AI? I started
Oh,
a
did
channel
a news
5
item
months ago.
happen? Is
It's
a news ball
complete AI
happening?
slop.
Oh, is a
From
news
script
news
creation to
happening?
images to video
Oh,
to
our current
narration.
events
The only
currenting?
thing that's not AI on the channel is the music.
I'm
all
sure they
sourced from
are.
ES.
It's
And because
extremely
it's all
stupid
AI,
that there
I
might
can
be a
post
draft
2 to 3
coming.
long-form videos per day. Drop your pride and just copy the successful people in your niche. We're trained from a young age to think that you must make something completely new.
Damn,
that
Gustava.
copying is cheating. Let go of your pride.
The news is
your
newsing?
ego, and just do what the successful people are doing. We live on a few acres of
The
land with
tragedy
farm
of
animals.
borders.
I started a YouTube channel with the hopes of making videos of what we do, but have discovered the videos of the animals with just ambient background noise do better. My question is, I read about hooks and content, but how do I apply that concept to videos that are just baby goats playing, ducks quacking, etc.? Do I do specific thumbnails even for shorts? I've learned real fast looking at the analytics that shorts hit a completely different audience than longer format does. The media landscape has made it so now goats also have to be e-boys. Farms used to just give us meat and cheese, now they have to double as content houses and turn their llama into Jack Doherty. The internet's taken a bizarre turn. Back in the day, you'd see something like that and go, oh my god, how cute, honey, grab the camera so I can show all my friends on Facebook. To now combing through the analytics and making a Reddit post about how the performance wasn't satisfactory enough. How do I optimize my click-through rate? Should I give my goat fake titties? Should I start a race war in the comments section? Should I purposefully misspell something in the captions? That way I can farm engagement from people correcting the typo. What's the meta this week? Are there any AI tools to track user pupil dilation? That way I can see the exact moment that they lose interest in my content? And at the end of the day, am I any different than the content cow?
Ow, shit. Gas grenades, eh?
Give me that milk. Give me that milk.
I can't seem to pick up the mines.
Do you realize something? Let me tell you. The health department of Greene County sees those videos that you put on the damn internet. They could condemn our house, and we would have to move out of it. So you go get that goddamn stuff off of there and fast.
I'm working on it. I got YouTube to get new videos on everything.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for your tip.
I appreciate that.
We Uber for every subscriber.
For you.
That's it.
Oh, okay. I thought this might be the end of the video. It is not, or it doesn't look it. It seems like there's a healthy amount on the timeline still.
Come on, you fucking pussy. What's the deal? You fat fucking Oh my god. Fire it now. Fire the warning shot now.
An issue I'm having.
Come on, guys. Gotta get something bigger than that. We need a dino. Official Haunted Beauty. Hey, Jason, when will...
Oh, this can't be good for us. Crisis on Infinite Borders.
If grifting is saying things that you don't believe just for the money, that also applies to literally every day job that I've ever had. Have you ever worked in an office? There's a bunch of people telling it like it is. You know, it's the fakest place on earth. Everybody is constantly laughing and nothing funny is said. And that used to mess with my head because, I mean, laughing is so important to me. Like, I've spent my whole life pursuing comedy. I didn't want to ruin my sense of humor with some fucking goober doing finger guns at me. So I just refused.
Damn,
Gustavo. Walking by with his coffee cup, like, working hard or hardly working. And I would stare at him like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. And everyone's like, hey, when's that mean autistic guy gonna fix my laptop? He's scaring the shit out of everybody. Yeah, I did corporate IT for 2 years. And I liked everyone that I worked with, but the managers in other departments were just the most horrible people that I've ever met. Like, I was replacing the laptop of some executive.
I got her card 6 and her brooch.
He beckons me in, and then his desk phone is playing a voicemail of some old woman going, "What you people are doing is wrong. He was a good man. He has spent 40 years paying into your life insurance, and now you're hanging out his family to dry." And then the guy starts doing the blah, blah, blah thing with his hand and rolling his eyes.
Oh, shit.
What I did next is selling out, which is nothing. Anything short of is selling out. But
Gray Fox.
That was my sole source of income. I didn't have any other way to make money, so I just had to bite my tongue and reinstall Microsoft Teams for the devil. When you see people pimping themselves out online, like, have you seen the NPC streamers, like the kid that dresses like Miles Morales, and then he'll stand on a street corner for 8 hours, jumping in and out of frame every time somebody sends a galaxy emoji? You just want to be like, dude, you don't have to do that. You could get a regular job. You don't have to humiliate yourself for these people.
Gray Fox.
You find out how much money he made doing it. It was like 6
well,
figures
I got card
in 3
6.
months, and you go, God damn it, what size Spider-Man costume am I? I gotta get out there. This honestly might be a life with more dignity than having to yell welcome to Moe's for $12.50 an hour. We all debase ourselves to some extent every day to survive. The internet is a great place to make money. Like, one of the most popular jobs in Venezuela for upward mobility a few years ago was to be a gold
East side
miner
of the first floor of
in
Zanzibar
RuneScape.
building.
Because of hyperinflation, the Boulevard
Saw it once
was
at Thanksgiving.
so worthless
See you.
that it was basically a better use of your time to try to get gold within RuneScape and then convert it back to USD. Over time, my salary became less than $4 a month, and I just couldn't do anything with it. So I decided to try a game my neighbor was telling me to play for money. He writes to Polygon on Discord. RuneScape has been a lifeline for Martinez and his entire family. He tells Polygon he earned $450 by gold farming in RuneScape and used that money to flee Venezuela and move to Peru. He continued to play the game and saved an additional $1,000, which he used to get his mother and girlfriend out of the country.
Nice.
So there'd be boiler rooms full of Venezuelans trying to support their family, spending 8 hours a day grinding resources to sell back to people that didn't want to put in the legwork to play the game. Funnily enough, this created its own hyperinflation within RuneScape, affecting prices in the Grand Exchange and causing scarcity at popular farming spots. I had to leave my job as an accountant and start doing this, otherwise me and my family would be eating from the ground. Many more Venezuelans are in the same situation. As I've said before, even though I know it's hurting the game that I grew to love, I can't put the health of the game over the well-being of my family. Jagex needs to do something about these Venezuelans, another player wrote, adding, I don't care about their real-life situation. They play the game solely for monetary gain, and it's ruining the economy. They offer nothing to the game, they don't interact within the community, and fail to assimilate to the values of Lumbridge. So people began making posts on how to identify and hunt Venezuelans for sport.
Holy shit,
within the
what?
game. They'd set up ambushes in the wilderness along popular routes to rob the gold miners of all their currency and equipment. So when I'm shitting on the NPC streamers or the AI slop, am I basically doing the same thing as the RuneScape Venezuelan lynch mobs? It might be a bit of a privileged mindset that I'm holding the entire platform to some type of artistic integrity when it could be somebody in Bangladesh going, listen, if I put a video of somebody cutting kinetic sand under Andrew Tate, I get a hot meal today. Honestly, if you want to take fentanyl at the end of your day and somebody from Darfur made you a YouTube short of AI Peter Griffin explaining the Kirkinator and Agartha, ultimately that's between the two of you. The economy is so hopeless, people that used to work in a factory are just churning out content on an assembly line for AdSense. My daddy was a drama farmer. His daddy for him was a drama farmer. Our family has spent 3 generations harassing Brendan Schaub across the internet. It ain't much, but it's an honest day's work. We thank God above every day for Bapa's CTE and his inability to pronounce common words. My final thoughts on the 4th category, selling out. I agree with Chris Hardwick's definition. Knowingly violating your own convictions for a check.
I have no morals or belief system. I have no spirituality or anything that gives my life meaning or structure. They
Damn,
ask
Dracula
me to
flow.
shoot,
All
I
right.
do it. I have no character.
There was something called the Esther Project that the British partners put together. People looked into the FARA records, and allegedly $1 million was paid to influencers to spread pro-Israeli propaganda that they worked out to be valued at around $7,000 a post. $7,000. Fuck.
What do you mean it wasn't justified? Did you
I mean,
even
I
see
just
the
have to say
video?
like 3 nice
That
things about
hospital was
Israel.
reaching for a gun. How dare you?
I was close, honestly. Like earlier this year, I was recommended to open for this comedian's run of theater shows, and then her manager followed me to like vet me for the gig, and when I saw that notification, I'm like, oh, should I get rid of that joke about Israel? Is that too controversial? And I'm like texting a bunch of friends, like, what do I do? I set it to private for like 15 minutes. And I wanted to throw up. Dude, I couldn't live with it. I've never felt that bad. So I just set it back to public. I'm like, well, fuck it. If I lose the gig, I lose the gig. I can't start doing this as a precedent. And it ended up not mattering. But that's the worry, is when you start self-censoring when nobody even asks you to. Because it's a lot of pressure when you need the money. Selling out is dependent on the individual. Like, I went camping last weekend with my wife and all my comedian friends, and we got to the classic campfire philosophical debate of would you suck a dick for $1 million? And the point of this game is to identify and bully the guy that says the lowest number. My one friend that was a vegan, he said $300. I'm like, brother, that's not even a hypothetical, that's just the going market rate for gay prostitution. Which naturally activates the trap card. Why do you know the going market rate for gay prostitution? Got my ass. So then we're just going around in a circle doing the gay auction. $100,000, $50,000, no price in the world. And then my poor wife is just sitting there as a straight lady going, I don't know, it's not that bad. It'd be like if I was sitting around a campfire with a bunch of ladies going, all right, how much would it cost for you to go down on another girl? I'm like, I don't know, a handful of trail mix? Honestly, a polite request if we're all out of trail mix. The point is the compromise is dependent on the individual. What may be an ethical dilemma for one person might not even be an afterthought for somebody else. Like, you'll see a celebrity make a business decision that has everybody in the comments going, how dare you? How could you sleep at night? They go, on a big pile of money with goose down pillows? What are we talking about? They have no idea what's going on. It'd be like somebody going, can you believe that Tony the Tiger refuses to recognize the sovereignty of Taiwan? Yes. I can absolutely believe that the cereal mascot doesn't have a strong take on one China. You never have to be confronted with compromising your morals if you never took a stand in the first place. But sometimes holding people to their prior beliefs can limit
Just
growth
ammo?
as well.
There's just ammo up here?
Just because
I was,
you said something
okay.
at one point doesn't mean that's who you have to be forever. Like, one of my favorite musicians was Pat the Bunny. He was prolific in the folk punk scene and was the front man of bands such as Wingnut Dishwashers Union, Johnny Freight Train and the Hobos, and Ramshackle Glory. His catalog featured songs such as Free is the Rent We Don't Pay, Fuck Cops, and to reiterate, fuck every cop that's ever done their job. He wasn't in it for the money. There is no mainstream path to success for folk punk. It's a bunch of anarchist junkies playing the banjo in a sewer. Only me and 100,000 other guys like it. It's not for the Grammys or any sort of accolades. It's just for the music. He went on to shock the scene in 2016 with his retirement letter. While the bandits are still true rebels banging on the system, I'm not really one anymore. They treat me with kindness and generosity anyway, because as well as being true rebels, they're also true friends, who care about people beyond abstractions like ideology or subculture. I've grown into basically an ordinary person, albeit a somewhat strange one. Nothing I write feels very skilled at communicating whatever it is I'm trying to say.
Alright, back to building one then.
It just seems important to tell you that I'm not really an anarchist or a punk anymore. My viewpoints have changed dramatically in the last 6 to 9 months, and this kind of politics and music is just not where my heart is anymore. I have no interest in convincing anyone of anything, so that's all that's important to say about it. I just don't want people to feel tricked when they buy or listen to my music. For the people who don't want to pay for my songs anymore because they're made by a sellout or whatever, all of my albums will remain free to download. Links for the free downloads are in the album descriptions on the Bandcamp page. May we hold warmth in our hearts for the dignity of all. May we not fear being fools. Really. Pat, no bunny. At last. He never specified how his viewpoints changed. Maybe he just lost faith there'd ever be the revolution he thought there'd be when he was younger. Maybe he just got tired of living in a van and watching all his loved ones overdose around him. So he left to get a job in computer science. That's not selling out. Singing the songs you don't believe in anymore to appease your fan base is selling out your current self. Sometimes refusing to grow or change isn't freedom. It's death.
Alrighty. We're running back to building one. I'm just thinking about the concept of selling out and how often that phrase was part of the countercultural vernacular up until Poptimism, really. I don't want to feel like a crank about anything, but actually no, because this ultimately comes out against nostalgia, because like I think the heart of selling out is like if you remain genuine and sincere and make genuine and sincere and real art, that will lead to genuine and sincere real like change. You know, this leads to this poptimist idea of like politics through like positive consumption of popular items. Not pragmatic political action, but like consuming the things that say things are going to be good. We found a way to stop worrying about like the anxiety of selling out because we just did some semantic play and it became more that you were buying in. I don't think I need anything on this floor. Can I keep going up? I don't remember. I think the fourth floor is just one door I was locked out of. Let's see. Oh, but I did do all this already. Okay. Yeah, I came around and did all that already. What I'm looking for is specifically a card 6 door. Also, she said first floor. I may be totally off here. I need to just go to that big Bay Area door. Or there may be something I was missing on the west side. I'll see. I will see in time. Did all this stuff, went all the way over there already. Yeah, I did all that stuff, did that big loop. Now let's just go back down. I think the other elevator just takes me to the basement, which I don't need to go to. Let's see. And yeah, I already did all this. Okay, yeah, let's go back to the first floor then. Oh, actually, there's like 2 doors down here I hadn't opened yet. That might be 6s. Are you a 6? You were a 5. Oh, I didn't come this way. Okay. Okay. Haha. Camouflage mat? That's cool. Very, very prototypical of what Snake Eater would do with the different outfits. All right. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Now I can swim, which I think there's a secret deep in the sewer somewhere I need to do extra swimming for. I believe I got these doors and these doors. I'm gonna have to work my way backwards anyways, but I think it's literally like this last door. Or maybe I need a 5. We'll see. Or I'll just die and redo that whole side because I need that oxygen tank. Right? All right, actually, it's getting about that time. Oh, it's already 6:30, yeah. We're gonna save, we're going to wrap for today. I may do a session tomorrow afternoon. I'm getting to the point with my Wednesdays where I can have a bit of a small session. Also, I feel like there's not much left to this game once I hang glide. I mean, I imagine I fight Gray Fox, I fight Big Boss, I fight Metal Gear, and then we're at the end there. The first game I wrapped in about 3 hours. I'm at 422 with this one, so yeah. However, we are going to be stopping for now. Be sure to check out the Pixel Goblins a little later tonight. I believe they're getting back to Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Otherwise, we will be back Thursday with Spec Ops The Line and more of the Fort Bragg Cartel for sure. Keep an eye on socials. If anything happens tomorrow, I'll be shouting about it on the blue sky. Until then, y'all take care, Techno Hotties. We'll see you around.